I have a memory of while they were prepping for Tum Mere Ho, Aamir plays a snake charmer in the film.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
wow, I already love it.
Yeah. And his iconic dialogue is choose, choose. That's it. I don't know. It's just
I'm going to make a meme out of this. You can't.
But what?
If you're in a restaurant and you're trying to decide what should I have, choose. I grew up on the sets of these films.
Correct.
I sat in the rooms while they were talking through the story.
Right.
Long before the screenplay was
Right.
locked. I sat and they would bring home what we call scratch recordings, which is the kacha version of a song.
Right.
And listen to multiple scratch versions of the songs. I have a memory clearly of sitting in our house back then and listening to a raw version of Ghazab Ka Hai Din. So I watched Mansoor through every step of the process. You know, while he was writing his screenplays, while he was recording songs, through filming, through editing, all of it. So also I would go on set, hang out with Aamir and watch and learn. In Papa Kehte Hain, a side gag that I've always loved is the principal of the college.
Okay.
yeah.
We keep seeing he's enjoying the music and his wife keeps leaning over and telling me, stop, calm down, it doesn't look good. So 2-3 times we see him getting into the music and she keeps saying, shh, quiet. And third time he's like, bas, bahut ho gaya. He jumps up and picks her up and they launch into this great jive.
Yeah.
So they were both professional dancers. And
And
like
that song Auntie Ji, Auntie Ji.
Yeah.
What was that film? Oh yes, Ek Mein Aur Ek
Ek
Tu.
Mein Aur Ek Tu. Yeah. We've already discussed it, no?
Yeah. Who started? Oh yes.
Yeah.
उसमें तो करीना कपूर थी.
Kareena Kapoor thi.
There is a smell of celluloid when you open a fresh can of film to load up the magazine. These sounds and smells are nostalgic for me.
पापा कहते थे पॉडकास्ट करेगा हैज इट एज्ड वेल जैसा कोई काम करेगा मगर ये तो
दलिपता है जैसा
I have a better line. कोई न जाने पॉडकास्ट का एड रेवेन्यू है कहाँ. Hello and welcome to Has It Aged Well. That song was of course from the iconic film Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak, which is as old as I am. It came out in 1988. To talk about Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak with me in the studio as usual is my co-host Urjita Vani.
Hello, namaste.
And we have a guest to talk about the film who is very special. The hero of this film happens to be his uncle. The director of this film happens to be his uncle. The producer and writer of the film happens to be his nana. And
His mom had made a special appearance in the
special appearance and does a lot for the film. And also it was his, if I may say so, debut performance that he performed. And we have mentioned him a lot on this show before. We did a mega bonanza double episode of featuring 2 of his films where we kind of bundled up a little bit, which we'll come to. But anyway, let me get to actually introducing him. Please welcome on the show. It's the one and only Mr. Imran Khan.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
Hi Imran. Welcome to Has It Aged Well.
Thank you.
Okay, let's address the perennial elephant in the room, and by which I mean myself.
So actually, I kind of consider myself to be the star of Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak.
Oh, really?
I'm playing the lead character.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Yes.
My uncle plays that character when I get older.
That's true.
So he did some of the heavy lifting in the film.
Yeah, without you, there's no grown-up
There is
Raj. Yes.
there is no beginning.
Exactly. Forget middle and end. There is no beginning at all. But Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak, of course, 1988. We'll come to your memories. Of course, there's so many people from your family like ingrained in this film.
Yeah.
But our association with you happened a couple of months ago when we did an episode on 2 of your films, because we wanted to get to the idea of where has romance gone? And there's one actor who used to embody romance of our generation, and which was you. So we did two films of yours on an episode with the film critic Sachin Mehrotra, and one of them was Break Ke Baad. And in that episode, Urjita, we did something where, as I do more than you, I just say things. And I was like, so Break Ke Baad I started in Australia, but you know they used chroma screen or green screen for Australia beach scenes. And lo and behold, I think a week or 2 later, I get a DM on Instagram from none other than Danish Aslam, the director of the film. And he's like, Abbas, heard your episode, really good stuff. But there's one thing I'd like to correct you. So, Imran, take it away. What is it that I fucked up? And I would like to totally own up to my blunder.
So, the blunder in that is that our beach scenes were all shot actually on a beach. There was zero chroma.
What are you saying?
Absolutely none. The cheat is that we shot in Mauritius, not
okay.
in Australia. The
Right.
film is set in Australia. We did not have the budget to go to Australia.
Right.
We didn't get close to Australia. We shot all of our beach stuff and a lot of our exteriors in Mauritius, cheating for Australia. We did do a bit of chroma, location cheating.
Yes, which also Danish mentioned, but
which
please tell us.
he mentioned to you, which is where we were cheating for a Delhi rooftop.
Right.
The Shah Rukh Sunita scene
Right.
where Abhay and Alia are sitting and getting drunk and talking on a rooftop was shot in Mehboob Studios,
Right, which is not very far from where we're sitting.
not very far from here. So that was all a chroma. That was a set.
So I was half right. I mean, it isn't
You were half right. We cheated Delhi and Bombay.
Right. Delhi was the fake background, but not the beach.
Not the beach. The beach was all real. It was, and such a gorgeous beach. It was on the. Let's see. Now I'm getting my geography mixed up in Mauritius. I want to say we shot on the eastern coast.
Okay.
And we built this beautiful shack on the beach over there. That location. It was
Yes.
gorgeous.
It looked really nice, but yeah, I stand corrected. So all of you who go in the comment section and are like, Abbas doesn't know shit, this is your moment. I own up to it. I apologize for that mistake. And
Vindication!
I'll be more careful when I research about films the next
Actually,
time.
don't be, because if actors and directors are going to personally correct
That's
us
true.
and come on
Yes,
our show.
otherwise we wouldn't have
Yeah.
Imran Khan.
You know
with
what? Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak also featured Thanos. So if anybody wants to correct us, feel free to DM.
It featured something way more.
No, now Josh Brolin is going to show up over here to correct
Yeah,
you guys.
yes.
Yeah.
And he'll snap his fingers and it'll be just one host left. No, that was a very bad.
Suddenly it gets very dark.
But Imran,
It doesn't get colder.
before we get to the film, you're on a bit of a tour. You've been appearing on podcasts. You've been making way more appearances than
I
you
have
used to.
somehow become a very in-demand podcast guest.
Yes, this is because you show up on shows like ours because we make mistakes. I guess.
I also like talking movies, man.
Right.
So it's like my top 3 most favorite things to do.
What are the other 2?
Talking movies, talking movies and talking movies.
ये तो आपने वो कर दिया. Entertainment.
The top 3 are movie
Movies
related.
only. Oh, okay.
Then we get to the others.
Right. I just want to say it's great to see you back because there was this whole Laut Imran movement, if we can call it, that happened. And now we do have you. So we'll
The movement is still going on, by the way, but
Yes.
now it is for the movies. That Laut Imran in the movies now.
Yes. We will get to that. Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak,
Qayamat Se
1988.
Qayamat Tak.
Like I said, this film is as old as I am. It came out 36 years ago. Sort of a path-breaking film considering the time it came out in.
Yeah.
So many reasons why it's important. It's Mansoor Khan's debut film. Aamir Khan and Juhi Chawla sort of announced their arrival with this film. Udit Narayan and Alka Yagnik, Anand-Milind, all of them sort of arrived there, announced their arrival on screen and behind the scenes. But like you said, this was your first experience on set.
Yeah.
Tell me what you remember. How old were you about the making of the film, being on set? Anything that stands out to you?
So I would have been about 4 years old
Okay.
while the film was being made. And
At this time, are you aware that okay, my family is in movies?
not really.
Okay.
This is where, I mean, at age 4,
You don't remember much.
yeah, like whatever your family is doing,
Right.
that is the thing. The concept of a movie business and movie industry and all of that, I had not even
Grasped
grasped
it,
those
yeah,
concepts,
yeah.
but I was already on set.
Right.
So for me, I'm 4 years old. I was sitting on camera and I have fragments of memories. I have a fragment of a memory of playing with a clapboard because I was fascinated with the going katak, katak, katak.
Yeah.
And it's a black, at that point we used a black chalkboard
Correct.
and
Yeah.
it was all written with chalk.
Yeah.
So I was 4 years old. I thought this was very cool. So I have a fragment of memory of this. I have these little fragments of memories of sitting in the background in a couple of the early scenes where you get to see me.
The prologue of the film. Yeah.
So I have some memories of kind of sitting around there and the activity happening.
Right.
And from there is, I guess, kind of my core foundational memories of the movie business. This means that there is a particular sound that those HMI lights make.
Right.
There is a smell of celluloid when you open a fresh can of film to load up the magazine. These sounds and smells are nostalgic for me.
Sounds like you're doing the audiobook version of Cinema Paradiso. So the film, you're like, yes.
So there's a reason that so many guys make these films that are a love letter to films. It's because we love the things. We're like, I will make a movie that is a love letter to cinema.
Yeah.
Every few years, somebody comes with the idea.
Right. You also then appeared in Jojita Hoy Sikandar, where you did nudity.
Yes.
Because you know about this, right? We discussed Jojita on this show, and there is this. Of course, there's a story that you were almost set up for that.
I was in fact set up for that
by your uncle.
Yeah, they were like, "Hey, listen, can you stand on the pedals while you ride the bicycle?"
Right.
I was 6 years old. I said, "Of course, I can stand on the pedals while riding." They said, "Karke dikhao." So I went off cycling, and the next thing I know, the actor who's playing my brother ran up and pulled my shorts off.
Right.
I was horrified. I guess today we would call this child abuse.
Yes, I was about to go there.
Yeah.
It was
Because
the
now
90s. It was a different time.
It's etched in on celluloid for generations to see. Yeah. An embarrassing moment of yours.
Yeah, and frankly, at that point, I was 9 years old, 10 years old when the film came out, and in school, all of the kids started teasing me about this thing. So I think.
But you didn't throw the "Janta hai mera mamu kaun hai" line to them.
They already knew. So that part of it, it didn't help. Being 10 years old and having kids in school say, "Hey, I've seen your butt."
In more than one way.
Yeah. It was awkward days.
Okay, so 88, I want to come to Urjita because, again, she's the youngest on this panel. So I, of course, grew up with... I think it helps that if you have an elder sibling, because two films of my sister who's 5 years elder to me, the two films that I thought I inherited were Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak and Maine Pyar Kiya. Which
I wonder why. क्या आपके घर में भी problem है?
Because
intercaste love story का.
She was like the impressionable age, so she kind of fell in love with this young romance on screen. Before I come to Urjita, I just want to read the one-line synopsis that is on Google for Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak.
There's just one line.
There's just one line.
Interesting.
Very interesting. Despite knowing that their respective families are bitter enemies, Raj and Rashmi fall in love with each other and decide to elope. It's a very bare bones one line idea of this. But Urjita, tell me what your memories are, or what relationship did you have with Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak growing up?
So I had heard about Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak in pop culture a lot of times.
Right.
I had watched the film as a child, but then of course I was 4 or 5 when I watched it. So I just remembered them walking in the jungle. That was my memory. कि ये दोनों forest में चल रहे हैं. Yeah, क्या?
जंगल में भटकते हैं.
Yeah. So that was my memory, and I watched it for the first time yesterday, and I couldn't believe that ये दोनों का debut है. Because they've acted so well, including you, of course. I couldn't believe it was your debut too.
Thank you.
Yeah, as a 4-year-old, I remembered how I have acted, and no, you definitely did a better job.
So you were the same age when you came to know about the film, where the age Imran was when he starred in the film.
Yes. So which is why I could get कि हाँ ये टक टक कर रहा होगा, definitely behind the scenes with the clapper. But no, I really like the film. But yeah, that's the answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you think, like, in a nutshell, do you think the film holds up?
I have a very controversial take about the
Please.
film, but should I just
Bring it.
begin?
Yes.
Should I just begin? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Internet
of
loves
course,
controversy.
of course, if it is a out and out intercaste love story, we side with the heroine ki yeah, कुछ भी
I don't think it's
religion रहेगा.
intercaste,
It's not
essentially.
I'm
Family,
coming to that. Yeah. Family.
warring families. Yeah.
Warring family. I'm coming to that. So like, of course, if it's an out and out intercaste love story, we are like, yeah, of course, इन दोनों का शादी होना चाहिए, whatever. But in this case, like, I tried to think about it from the Dalip Tahil's perspective, that if I was Dalip Tahil and if I had killed a guy जो जिसने मेरी बहन को impregnate करके भाग गया, तो would I be okay with my son or my daughter getting?
You're saying the in-laws meeting would always be awkward for the rest of your life.
Exactly. Like, would I be like, in the beginning, would I be okay with my son or my daughter getting married to that guy's son or daughter or anybody in their family? Like, I try to think about it from that perspective कि, okay,
Urjita, you're the youngest on this panel and you're like, सिद्धांतों को follow करना चाहिए ये बच्चे.
I'm not saying they should, of course, eventually. But
Right.
eventually they would have agreed. I would have agreed.
Okay.
But I would have like needed a little
You as
convincing.
Dalip Tahil would have
Me as a
agreed.
Dalip Tahil. Inan as Dalip Tahil.
Yes.
I think I would have needed a little convincing from my children. Ki, Mama, please, yeah, what the fuck. I think I would have needed a little convincing. So I get it. I get
you get his point of view.
I get his point of view. Yeah, that is my controversial take. That like I get.
That's not so controversial also, because then in if a film is decently constructed, decently written, ideally you should be able to understand a character's perspective.
Yeah.
And say, Acha, I get why this character, I may not agree with it personally, but your perspective makes sense, your perspective makes sense. In a well-written film, ideally that's what you want.
Yeah, which is why we all love The Dark Knight. Because we understand the Joker's perspective. No, just me. Okay, then. But मैं थोड़ा villain जैसा sound कर रही हूँ क्या? I just realized.
Was like, Dark Knight was not on my list.
Keeps invoking the villains, huh? Jumping from Thanos to the Joker to...
She has on multiple occasions confessed that she would, given a chance, not hesitate to murder her enemies.
नहीं,
if
her
she
enemies
doesn't
नहीं.
get caught.
That's not what I said. No.
So everybody please.
Context, guys. Anyway, no. But I was saying, I say that for the shock value, the shock effect.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, and it works. It clearly works.
Right.
Yeah.
Like I said, I grew up with the hype of Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak. Like my sister would keep listening to the songs again and again. That's one of the key things, that the songs of this film still hold up, still play on radio all the time. And I would say that Jo Jeeta Wahi Sikandar is a more dear film to me than this is, because it has more... It's more joyous than Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak. Also, it has the whole cycling thing, the brother relationship there, and it's a more youthful coming-of-age film, which is a genre I love. So, when's the first time you properly saw Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak? And also, secondly, I want to ask, when you're watching a film which is written by your nana, which your mother worked on so closely, one of your uncles stars in it, the other directed it, do you have the liberty to dissent and be like, I didn't like this film? Or
Sure, always, because that is kind of creative honesty,
right,
which also was inculcated in me.
Right.
It is tricky because I grew up on the sets of these films.
Correct.
I sat in the rooms while they were talking through the story.
Right.
Long before the screenplay was locked. I sat and they would bring home what we call scratch recordings, which is the kacha version of a song.
Right.
And listen to multiple scratch versions of the songs. I have a memory clearly of sitting in our house back then and listening to a raw version of Ghazab Ka Hai Din.
Wow.
The song where they're in the jungles.
Oh.
The first recording of that they had brought home and we were playing on the music system.
Yeah.
So I have a memory of this.
Right.
At that point, my granddad had a running production house, and we had an editing machine in the house. In those days, he edited on a Steenbeck machine. I don't know if you've ever seen one of these.
I've heard about them.
Giant flatbed
machine,
thing. It's
which
the
you
size
manually
of a-
cut the film.
You strip the film there and you cut it, and so I would sit in the editing room while they were cutting these films, watching take after take after take as they trimmed it physically, frame by frame, and put the films together.
Right.
So it's tricky for me to have an objective.
Exactly. So when you watch the final product, also were you as a kid one of those who maybe your uncle or your grandfather would show like what's called the rough cut or the first cut of a film? So when you watch them, for you, would it be like, okay, I've seen parts of this being made. Now, were you awed by when you eventually saw the final thing?
Somehow it still worked.
Right.
Now this one I don't remember.
Okay.
My mother has told me this story.
Right.
But when the film was completed, I had been around for parts of it, not all of it.
Right.
So when there was one of the early trial shows of the film at Kidnap Theatre, which sadly is closed down now.
Okay.
when it comes to the end, spoiler alert,
Oh yes, the ending. Yeah. yeah.
and Aamir
Romeo, Juliet.
stabs himself.
Yeah.
Apparently, I burst out howling and was weeping in the theater and was inconsolable, and I had to be carried out of the theater. So that part was impactful.
Right.
Yeah. I can't wait for you to watch Gajni then.
Wow, again a very dark thought. Like, oh, you didn't like him dying. Let me show you a film.
But I'm also that guy. I'm very moved by movies.
Right.
I cry. Like I sat and watched Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak last night to
Right.
prep for this.
Right.
I was weeping a lot, man. Like the tears started quite early in the film.
Can I ask, when's the last time you remember watching the film, like from start to finish?
Prior to last night,
Yeah.
it's probably 15 plus years
Okay.
since I saw it last.
For some reason, again, it's very interesting, and we'll come to the fact of how much. So I just want to say I referred to a book which was written about Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak by Gautam Chintamani. Mansoor Khan writes the foreword of the book, so it's like as official a document as it can be. And a large chunk of the book is dedicated to how many debates Mansoor Khan and Nasir Hussain had about the ending of the film. Because Mansoor Khan wanted the sad ending where both of them die.
Yeah.
And Nasir Hussain, of course, being the sort of elder statesman who's been in the business for so long, is like, people don't want to go home sad.
Yeah.
And they fought, and even when the film was being about to release, there's this one meeting that the author mentions where the distributors are like, we love the film, there's just three things we don't like: the ending, the music, and the title.
The music
Which are like the three most vintage things that we
Wow.
associate with Qayamat Se
Wow.
Qayamat
It's
Tak.
like saying ki we like your look, but the hat, lose the hat, the clothes, and the shoes. Yeah, and the face. Yeah.
And surprisingly, so I've also it's been 10 plus years since I saw the film. But as the climax started coming closer, those memories started flashing back. That this is the most impactful part of the film that
Yeah.
stands
powerful,
out
yeah.
to me. And the
And if I'm not wrong, they had also shot a happy
happy
ending.
version, yeah, that's what the story goes. There's also a version where Raj's friend Sham,
His cousin brother.
played by Raj Zucchi in the film, he arrives at the spot where they have died, and he's with another girl, and he says that at this spot I had made a promise to a friend of mine who sacrificed for love. Let me tell you his story. And then the whole film was in a flashback. But again, that was also scrapped for some reason. There's one observation that I had. So this film was, like I said, sort of a departure from the kind of cinema that was being made in the 80s. 80s, we kind of course, I wasn't around, and you were also very young, and Urjita was far from intention. But we were going into these action, films, and 80s is kind of considered that dubious decade where, the older guard was sort of going away, the newer guard hadn't yet come.
Yeah.
And Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak was like the template on which a lot of the 90s films were then based.
Yeah.
Hum Aapke Hain Kaun,
Hum Aapke Hain Kaun, Dilwale Dulhaniya Le Jayenge, so
including
many
the
of
long
them.
titles actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So surprisingly for me, it's like 36 years later, the film, the things that seemed fresh then, maybe almost 40 years later, do seem a little outdated now. Because for me, like, the direct comparison for this is with Joji Da Hoye Sikandar, which still seems to be like a more modern film to me than Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak. Do you feel like that?
Yeah. So, okay, there is the backstory of how these films then came to be.
Right.
My uncle Mansoor had started writing what was then called his bicycle film. Mansoor was writing what would become Joji Da Hoye Sikandar, and he had intended for that to be his film.
Correct.
And as I understand it, he had not got the screenplay quite working. It was still kind of coming together. And around that point, my grandfather had written this story, and it said, "Why don't you make this instead?" Mansoor had some doubts about it because he was feeling like he didn't understand this world. He said, it's a small town heartland film. There are these Thakur families. What does a Thakur do?
Yeah.
He's like, I don't get this world. This is not me.
Right.
So the film ultimately is very much a marriage of these two worlds.
Correct.
The world that my grandfather knew and understood, and the younger, youthful parts of the story are what
Mansoor
my
Khan
uncle
too.
Mansoor. My mom and Aamir also worked a fair
Yes.
bit on the screenplay.
Yes.
So what I felt as I rewatched it was that those parts of the romance, it felt like young love. It felt authentic. So I think those are the parts that that do work and still feel authentically youthful.
You think?
But what I really liked about the romance also, I'm sorry, this is just something that I noticed कि वो time के films में it's usually the guy who is pursuing the girl, actively pursuing, stalking, being creepy or whatever that was considered as romance back then. But here we see like a little of Juhi Chawla also like pursuing him.
Yeah.
Like the first time he meets her, and that's by the way, the foreshadowing. There is so much foreshadowing in
Lots
the
of
film.
foreshadowing.
Yeah. Is it right from
first meeting.
Juhi Chawla's first scene in the film with her grandmother or mother? I think grandmother.
Grandmother.
It was grandmother, and she's like कि मेरा भी हाथ पढ़ो ना.
हाँ,
And I
हाथ
think
नहीं
the grandmother saw something in her rekha, and she was like कि अभी ये नहीं करते. And then I noticed that like little frown on her face, and I was like, oh, foreshadowing.
Interesting,
Because she
yeah.
knew, because she had asked her कि मेरी जीवन रेखा बताओ ना क्या कहती है.
हाँ.
She's like कि अभी नहीं. And she just said that तेरे जीवन में कोई नया आने वाला है. That's all she said. Two things that she said.
Both of which turned out to be.
Both of which turned out to be true. And the second foreshadowing is during the sunset वाला scene where Aamir Khan tells her कि अरे sunset के साथ वाली pictures नहीं रखते पास वरना
Yeah.
ऊपर चले जाते. That's what he says.
There is and the interval scene also is at sunset,
Yeah.
where he's telling her कि hey, याद रखना एक दिन ये डूबता हुआ सूरज हम दोनों को हमेशा के लिए मिला देगा.
Yes.
Which
that
is
too.
again, so they meet at the first time and he says that about the photographs.
Yeah.
Then they have the party and then sure enough in the end.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hadn't quite picked this up when in my younger viewings.
Right.
Today you watch it with the filmmaker
Yeah,
lens.
yeah.
Oh, foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Foreshadowing.
Yeah. And in the end, she also like explicitly mentions that too, that देखा डूबता हुआ सूरज ने हमें मिला ही दिया.
Yeah.
And in a way, I think she also knew that he was going to kill himself because she said मिला ही दिया, even though she was the one dying. But that was really. That was nice. What I really liked, coming back to my original point, what I really liked about this film was that Juhi was also actively pursuing him.
Yeah.
Like you see, after the sunset scene, she goes after him. Like
Yeah,
while he's
she's
sitting
hiding
with his friend,
photographs
she's like,
and-
अरे मैंने आपके photo खींचे क्यों नहीं ले रहे? And even in the forest, when she is getting stalked by those other men,
Yeah.
stalked नहीं, properly molested. Yeah, by the other men. When she meets him, she immediately feels safe.
Yeah.
Which is, there was no need for her
Did you identify the head sort of gunda in that group?
One was Faisal Khan.
Yes. Amir's brother.
Amir's
Yeah.
brother. And
There's
The
one-
leader of the group.
Yeah, the leader of the group. Yeah.
No, the leader of the
There's-
group is the guy driving. He has curly hair and he has sort of a
green
stubble.
sleeveless.
Makran Deshpande.
Yeah.
no?
Yes.
Yeah,
very young
yeah.
Makran
Makran
Deshpande.
Deshpande. Oh, yeah. I
He's
had
in
to
there,
Google.
yeah.
I was like, ये जाना पहचाना लग रहा है थोड़ा. He looks very different in this film than he did in Satya.
Of course,
There
yeah, because
was-
like a 9-year difference.
9
years
years.
later, yeah.
He also
Yeah.
appears in the other film, the Saeed Akhtar Mirza film. I'm forgetting the title.
Salim Lagde pe matro.
Salim Lagde pe matro, yes.
Yeah.
In that, so yeah, young Makran is quite a sight to behold.
Yeah, I remember they all called him Mac. So in the family it was Mac ka scene, Mac ka shot. So growing up I always knew him as Mac.
There's also Shehzad Khan who
Yeah.
plays the villain in Andaz Apna Apna, which has become iconic. He was on one of the other shows that we do, and he was talking about this was I think his first film also.
have been, probably.
His father Ajit refused to make any calls and make him like to sort of get him into the movie business. So this was also one of his rebellious streaks that I'll go make a film with my friends. And I think he knew Mansoor Khan also.
I wanted to talk
yeah.
about that jungle wala scene, the forest where she meets Aamir Khan,
Yeah.
and like he is trying his level best to keep her at
To
bay.
keep her at arm's
कि
length,
नहीं नहीं तुम नहीं, and but then she is also so endearing. She's like पता नहीं मुझे ऐसा क्यों लग रहा है कि ये रात खत्म ही ना हो, मुझे
Yeah.
आपसे बातें ही करनी है. And I was like every girlfriend ever, but
that line when she drops on him, he says और कोई चोट लगी, and she says Dettol वाली कोई चोट नहीं.
yeah.
Like my heart went like, ho. Like प्यार हो गया. It was
Yeah. प्यार हो गया ब्रांडिंग से.
Yeah, like
The funny thing was just so she says कि आप मुझे सड़क तक छोड़ दीजिए वहाँ से कुछ नहीं. And he very casually says सड़क का रास्ता तो मैं भी भूल चुका हूँ. Like this is alpha guy, you know, Banyan making a fire. Like yeah, I forgot what I'll figure it out, whatever.
But I love how this is typical girl brain, no? Like ऐसे वो जब भी खुद से अकेले चल रही है, she knows the way. Sunset में जा रही है, अकेले फोटो खींच रही है. She knows everything. The moment she meets Aamir is like ठीक है यहाँ से कहाँ जाएंगे? And she is completely dependent on him. कि आप बताइए कहाँ जाएंगे? आप कहिए तो हम forest में घर बना लेंगे. Whatever you say, honey.
I have my thoughts about that little like the beaten down shack they find in the climax of the film.
Did you also think it was a mandir?
At first, yes. At first, I did
it is
feel.
a mandir.
It is
I
a
think so.
mandir,
It's a beaten down
Oh,
mandir
acha,
which
okay.
they then
Okay.
where they want to bus out their grihasti. But that was the point where I was like, how young are these kids supposed to be? They're supposed to be right out of
18,
college,
I
right?
think.
Yeah, because
she says she's 18 when they are in the forest and they meet.
Correct.
And her birthday is coming up, so we assume that would be her 19th birthday.
Because it's a very teenager thing to be like कि हमें ये ऐसे खाली घर मिला चलो यहाँ अपना घर बसा लेते हैं, you know.
Romeo and Juliet are
That's
teenagers.
true, yeah.
In the original text, they were 15 and 17, as I
Yes,
believe.
Because
Yeah.
anything about 20, you don't really buy them doing all of that stuff.
Yeah,
कि
being a little
घर से
stupid.
भागना and घर से भागना हाईवे पे गांव में जाके, not even like
Yeah.
lodge में रुक रहे
I
हैं or
remember I
somewhere.
wanted to go to Mount Abu after watching this film for the first time. I was
But
like,
you
where
didn't
is-
find any girl to
I
go
didn't
with.
find any
Yeah.
girl. So yeah, like if any girl is interested in going to Mount Abu with me, I don't know why I'm using a podcast some
Find a
20 years later.
find a truck driver first.
Oh my god.
Who needs Tinder?
Yeah.
Get yourself a podcast.
We have to go to break, but I just want to circle back to, you said that the romance feels young, right? The romance feels fresh. And I kind of want to come back to that. That's one of the things I want to discuss with you again, because you starred in a string of romantic films. You had an image of as a romantic lead. Do you think there's a lot of debate about romantic comedies have gone out of fashion, like the that's not the priority of Hindi films as they are made today, and secondly, the one thing that stood out to me was the innocence, that these two are kids from Delhi, but still there is that, you know, that little hesitation between them, that
Yeah.
you know, they want to dive in, but they're still a little they come from very conservative families, and I feel like like an 18-20-year-old love story made in India in 2024, has the innocence of the youth been lost, kind of? If we have to show the innocence, it's mostly maybe set in a small town. But let's say if you have to set a film in Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi, the kids are just too
You're saying
smart
शहर
now.
में innocent बच्चे नहीं हैं.
नहीं
That's your
बचे हैं,
problem.
मुझे ऐसा
Yeah.
लगता है.
I guess you're not incorrect about that.
Right.
There are always going to be societal changes, kind of larger societal changes, as we move forward.
Right. If I can put a reference to that, so
Yeah.
your debut film Jaane Tu came out in
Yeah.
2008,
2008.
which is 16 years ago.
Yeah,
But even
20 years after.
after QSQT, yes. But even in Jaane Tu, I buy into the
Romance,
youthful
yeah.
romance, because it's a little step. It's a college. They are friends, but I still buy into that innocence.
Yeah.
I feel like that innocence somehow has deteriorated over the years.
That I don't know. See, there is a part of that which I suspect we're always going to feel that as we get older and look
True.
at people younger than
Yes.
us. Yeah, आजकल के बच्चे ना
Looking at you, Urjita.
इनको कोई value नहीं है culture
Yo.
की. They have no appreciation.
You're saying we've become the Thakurs?
It's inevitable. You know, to quote one of your favorite films,
Yeah.
you die a hero or you live long enough
to
to see yourself become the
become a
Thakur.
parent and a villain. Yeah.
ये आजकल के बच्चे, they have no
Yeah.
values, no
ये
culture.
आजकल के
no,
बच्चे innocent नहीं है तो इनको उल्लू नहीं बना सकते.
And this thing about the romantic comedies, do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is something that I was conscious of while I was still working.
Right.
In the last couple of years, the last couple of films I made, by the time, say, Gori Tere Pyar Mein, by the time we had started promoting the film,
Right.
the buzz around already was like, oh God, ek aur romantic comedy, bas karo romantic comedy, band karo romantic comedy. There was already, as we were promoting it, there were thought pieces being written about it.
From
like, ye dekho.
from Band Karo romantic comedies to Laut, Imran, we've come a long way.
It's amazing how a few years changes that perspective.
Right,
At
right.
that point, everyone was like, we are sick of this. why are you making this stupid romantic comedy? Mat karo.
Right. So in a way, we're kind of in the same position where when Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak came out, where we were making a lot of these action films, and then it came out as a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, very much. It was very much counter to the regular programming at that point. It was an unusually youthful film.
Yes.
It was a non-traditional hero that was being portrayed in the midst of all of that 80s masculinity.
Yes.
To show this guy who, there may be, I guess, shades of it which we look at today and say, but by and large, these were progressive characters, particularly when you look them at the time.
Actually, I was about to say
he was quite gentlemanly.
He's
Rashmi character
considerate with her. He is not
overbearing.
He's not overbearing or exploitative. Considering that through a lot of the film, he knows more than she does.
Yeah.
He could be taking advantage of the situation. He never does. He's trying to do the decent thing and draw back. There are all these like nice little things that I picked up. Towards the end, there is this bit where she tries to cook food and she's like, I don't know how to cook.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And she says, now you'll stop loving me. And he responds with saying, hey, listen, I'm also just a guy. I have weaknesses. And if you find out something about me, will you stop loving me? The very next thing we see is the two of them starting to build their house.
Right.
He picks up these logs. She picks up the other end. They're equal partners.
Yeah.
They're doing the work. Both of them walk carrying this thing. They put it up. They start tying it. They're building the roof. Literally building a roof for their own home together as equal partners. I found it to be quite progressive.
Yeah. Also, another thing that I noticed was during that time, and by that time I mean 1985 to 90s का end तक, जितने भी heroes हैं, मतलब शाहरुख खान, सलमान खान, all of these characters, either they are like
much later.
Sorry?
शाहरुख के much later, like
90s
91,
में.
92.
तो इसलिए मैं सही हूँ 90s का पूरा वो the entire stretch.
They're part of the same batch.
Part of
Kind of, yeah.
but even then, like we would see either on the spectrum of nice guys, we would either see Salman Khan and Hum Saath Saath Hai, who was like the एकदम coy nice guy, मतलब coy, introverted, मम्मी पापा सबकी सुनता है, मम्मी पापा arrange marriage करता है, प्रेम जैसा. That is the extreme. Either that or you see like चालाक type का शाहरुख खान and जोश, who is like a ऐसे तो like on paper he's a nice guy, but ऐसे वो चालू हरकतें करेगा. But here like we had a nice middle ground in Aamir Khan where you could see like, okay, I've seen people like him in real life. I've seen more people like him than I've seen like Salman and Shah Rukh. Like a believable nice guy who is not like a
more grounded
hashtag
character.
like a quote unquote nice guy.
Yeah.
So that I really liked about why did he say
Just the way you put quotes around the nice guy.
Yeah, the
nice
nice
guy.
guy.
Yeah, I mean, like, what are men supposed to do?
No, like the trend that is going on about the supposed nice guys, right?
Who puts up a front of being nice.
जो तुम्हें एक glass पानी का देंगे और बोलोगे, hey, come on now, come on, I'm such a guy, I'm such a nice guy, I pulled a chair for you. But that I really liked about him, and I like you mentioned, even I noticed that scene कि अरे ये तो पक्का 1988 में बनी थी ये movie, the cooking वाला scene where he was like, yeah, no,
Right.
cool.
I was about to say that the Rashmi character actually, even multiple times, she stands up to her family.
Yeah.
Maybe not, she doesn't have a long monologue or whatever, but every time she sees things going away from how she wants them to be, she figures out a way with her friend to somehow maneuver that and take things the way she wants to. So I think that was, her character had quite a lot of agency. I thought that was good. We have to take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about the leading man of the film and some sort of things that you picked up from it, and we'll talk about the music, and I have some trivia about the film. So we're still talking about Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel, like the video, and if you're listening to us on an audio platform, please rate and review us. It helps us reach more people. We'll be right back after this.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcasts Network. On A Century of Stories, Kunal Vijayakar tells the extraordinary story of Raghu Rai, a Padma Shri winning photojournalist whose tremendous work on the 1971 war captured the reality of the situation and created history. On The Habit Coach, Ashton talks with sexuality educator Anju Kish about the correct way to impart sex education to kids and lead them to a healthy transition from childhood to adulthood. Folks, if you like our shows, spread the word. Tell your friends and don't forget to rate and review them wherever you're listening to them. Follow us on social media. We are IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn. You'll also find all our shows on youtube.com/IVM Podcasts. And finally, we would like to thank our sponsors this week. Omidyar Network India, IDFC First Bank and ICICI Prudential Mutual Fund. Thank you for making this possible.
And we're back on Has It Aged Well. We're talking about Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak from 1988 with Urjita and, oh look, it's Imran Khan, the guy who made a debut with Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak. I want to talk about Aamir Khan. I mean, this is his first. He'd done Holi before this Kehte Hain film, but that film was
Released later.
So this is for all purposes, this is his debut. I wanted to ask you, when you made your debut in Jaane Tu, did you take any pointers from this performance or early Aamir Khan performance? Because you both were being launched in a sort of a similar vein. You were also playing a college boy in Jaane Tu Ye Jaane Na, romantic lead.
Not directly consciously.
Okay.
I will say though that growing up watching Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak, Jo Jeeta Wahi Sikandar, there is a particular vulnerability that Aamir would portray in these films, which touched me as a viewer, and I think I held on to as an actor, saying कि हाँ, when you can see that, you see that a character feels pain, feels hurt, feels fear, our heart goes out to them. And so the value of that, of being vulnerable as a character, as an actor,
Right.
As opposed to being bulletproof and macho,
Right.
I understood the value of that, and that is what I aspired to myself.
Okay.
So while not directly going with the characterization,
Would you have conversations with him growing up about stuff like this, about characterization of films?
not a whole lot.
Okay.
Because at that age, one does not have enough of an understanding to have an informed conversation.
I asked that because, like you said, you grew up around films and you were still
Yeah.
absorbing all of this in, and he was.
I was absorbing everything
and he was
by watching.
by all means the star of that decade.
Yeah.
Not
So
just him, the whole family, right?
Yeah.
But he was the kind of the face of
Yeah,
of the movies.
He was the face of it as an actor.
Right.
But just as much my uncle Mansoor, and through that time we kind of lived in a large joint family.
Right.
So I watched Mansoor through every step of the process. You know, while he was writing his screenplays, while he was recording songs, through filming, through editing, all of it. So also I would go on set, hang out with Aamir and watch and learn. And what I learned from both of them was their devotion to the craft, how seriously they took it, and how they treated that as their job, as their work, not as something that you do for enrichment or for celebration.
Right.
This is not the thing.
Right.
You're doing it because you love the craft.
Right. Just
What did the brainstorming sessions look like? If you were a part of the sessions as a grown up, of course, not as a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have just more than detailed memories. I have memories of all of them sitting together. It would be my granddad, my mom, Mansoor, Aamir,
Right.
kind of sitting together in the living room,
Right.
reading out scenes, talking through it, and kind of bouncing it off. Agar aisa ho, to what would it be like? Suppose this is. So I have a lot of memories of them sitting and talking through stuff like that.
Give us a sense of Mansoor Khan, because he's a very interesting character. From the book that I've read, he almost seems like he films were not his first choice.
No,
he seems like he went to IIT, he went to the US to study.
To
Seems
MIT,
like seems like someone who's obsessed with technology and you know, the cutting edge advancements. again, someone who made films in the 90s, which were, most of them were successes, some of them were not, and then kind of moved to Kunur, is now a farmer.
Yeah.
So, like he's like, and then of course he returned to produce your first film, but then he seems like the kind of guy who wasn't aspiring for mega success, and even when it came, he kind of was like, yeah, what's the big deal?
So that is the thing. No one in my family has ever chased success
Right.
or been very enamored with it.
Right.
Because it is a byproduct of doing something well. The thing you are supposed to pursue is do a thing well. Do it to the absolute best of your capabilities. And success may or may not find you as a result of that.
Can I ask a counter question? Then how do you're making something for a mass audience in a country like India? So where does the artistic person's satisfaction and making something for an audience, where's that balance? Or what have you understood of that balance?
Well, see, that again, it must come from inside.
Right.
As a creative person, you have to tell a story that first and foremost moves you, that you believe in. No one has ever made a good film, I think, by trying to guess what the audience wants.
Okay.
Audience को action पसंद है और item गाने पसंद है, तो we need a film with action and an item song. And so if you start backwards and start putting things together in that way, nothing works.
Enough about Kante.
Wait, hang on.
Action and item songs, that was
Are you saying Kante didn't work?
It did. I think it's a
But
kick-ass
that's
film.
so many films, no?
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Yeah.
So in order for something to really land, I think it has to first land with you. And you have to feel convinced by it and say, I feel this, I believe this is good. You have to have a song and say, I think the song is good. And then you move outward from there.
Yeah.
Now, the number of people who will agree with you may differ. But I think that if you make something that as a creative person you like and you believe in, it will find an audience.
How do you assess that as an actor? Because you're already getting something written by someone else and now you have to breathe life into it.
Again, it comes to, does this land with me? Does this resonate with me?
Okay.
There is, I guess, some kind of a common thread through my films, which were written by different people, directed by different people, music by different people. So there are so many different people's influences that come in to shaping a film.
Right.
But within that, the common thread for my part is these are the ones that I chose.
Yeah.
I would choose something where the character would resonate with me, the character journey, the relationships. These would be the things that I would say, I get this. I feel something here.
Right.
I can emotionally plug into this and do it convincingly.
Okay.
There are enough films that I was offered that I would look at and say, I don't feel this.
Okay.
I don't get it. Some of them went on to be very successful. Some of them went on to be unsuccessful. Those are, again, intangibles. But you have to go with what you feel.
That's very interesting that you say that, because you've also, many people think that you have just done good boy roles, like in your entire
That's why
career.
I wanted to single
which
out
is
one film, but go ahead.
Kidnap and Laut.
Yes, Kidnap. I want to talk about Kidnap.
So Kidnap, I have watched Kidnap. You
So
know,
have I in a
had
theatre.
that 4-in-1 वो DVD वो जो होती थी उसमें Kidnap था. I have watched it and I remember liking it even then. But then, उसमें तो थोड़ा bad boy का role था.
It was a
and that was
villain
a-
role, right?
Yeah. But that one, again, I had seen the characterization quite differently basis what was told to me.
Right.
So again,
Was it a conscious decision that I've played so many leading good boy roles, now let me try something grey?
well, again, that was my second film.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I shot my first 2.5 films. I shot Jaane Tu. Then I shot Kidnap. Then I shot half of my third film, Luck. Then Jaane Tu released.
Okay.
So Jaane Tu released in the middle of my shooting my third film.
Got it.
So you were just finding your voice.
I was, So
Right.
when I made Jaane Tu, That film had quite a journey.
Yes.
From the time that I signed on to it, it was being produced by Jhamu Sugandh, a whole different producer.
Directed by an Abbas.
Directed by another Abbas.
But to your credit, even in Kidnap, I just want to mention in that song Mausam Ye Awesome Bada, Manisha Lamba is trying to seduce you, but you are like, no, I'm a nice guy. I'm not gonna take it.
Okay, so parts of that were also kind of uncomfortable. Because that song then leads into a sequence of sexual assault. I don't know if you have a memory of this.
I've tried
this
hard
I
to
don't
forget
remember.
it.
I just remember you
So he's holding
rejecting her
back.
advances, yeah.
But the thing is that the song is a trick. She is trying to get close to me, and at some point she gets this this piece of glass. She stabs what's his name, Kabir, and tries to escape. Following which, Kabir grabs a hold of her, drags her back to the den, and starts to assault her.
Okay, this I don't remember. Sorry. My
This
bad.
was and this was very uncomfortable actually.
Yeah.
It was very uncomfortable shooting it and performing it. It left me with some baggage because something like that.
True.
You can't quite choreograph it. A fight sequence you can choreograph very cleanly. Swing, duck, block, kick.
Yeah.
We move. In this, you cannot choreograph it.
Correct.
You have to basically improv it. And we spent a whole day shooting this thing. And essentially, I'm trying to subdue her and force myself on her. And she's fighting back. And by the time we were done shooting this thing, I went home and I was deeply, deeply, deeply disturbed.
Right.
I was nauseous. I threw up. I couldn't sleep that night. And I had to come back the next day and have a conversation with Manisha.
Right.
And Manisha also has this like super, super delicate, like, alabaster skin. So the next day she had all of these bruises all over her hands So while I'm talking to her, I'm seeing all of these bruises on her hands. And I'm like, hey, listen, I feel really awkward about that scene we shot yesterday. And, how... And she bloody solid professional. She's like, "Arey, aisa kya hota hai? This is shooting." So she played it very chill and she made me feel a lot better about it. But I felt uncomfortable about it. And I don't know whether the scene was necessary in the film.
Sure.
I don't think it added.
I just want to share one.
I had blocked out that memory completely. I did not remember.
I want to
this,
share something about Kidnap. So I think it was either an Eid release or a Bakrid release. So
Gandhi Jayanti.
Really? Yeah. It was some holiday, I remember. So like a huge bunch of us cousins had gone to see Kidnap. And because obviously all of them are crushing on Imran, so it's like Imran Khan ki picture dekhne jayenge. And the plot, like in a nutshell, it's about this guy who kidnaps this girl and her father, played by Sanjay Dutt, wants to get her back. So there's a scene, I don't know if you remember, where they both come face to face. He finds the hideout where the daughter has been kidnapped. Yeah. He arrives there, then you knock the Sanjay Dutt character out or whatever, and then when he comes back to consciousness, and he's also like banda hua hai wo, theek hai? Then you both have a lot of dialogue baji, and then Sanjay Dutt's character is like, kal main jab aunga. So one of my younger cousins was like, अरे ऐसे अपनी बेटी को लिए बिना चला जाएगा. And the entire theater like turned back and said, I thought she had a point. Like, your daughter is right there. Just take her and leave. But it's taking an appointment.
Taken ने इधर से इंस्पिरेशन लिया था कि पता है कहाँ जा रही है फिर भी I'll come back later.
And you want to come back to Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak? Urjita, you have a quiz for us. Please, please
yes,
ask. Do you know about the quiz, Imran?
No.
This is Urjita's film quiz. Okay. So the answers don't have to be like accurate or correct. You'll figure it out when she asks the question.
So basically I do this quiz just to show off how much I have noticed in the film. Most people, they fail the quiz, but I'm guessing
the questions are like, when this happened, what room was the character sitting in? It's one of those.
पीछे जो painting थी उसमें घोड़ा था या unicorn, like that specific
unicorn
question.
painting is not very common in Hindi films.
सूरज बरजाता की सारी फिल्म में unicorn paintings ही तो होते हैं वो background में.
अच्छा, chocolate. Yeah, that's true. And then हम आपके हैं on the song ना chocolate. What is that song? We got cut. Lime juice. हाँ, there's a unicorn poster in Madhuri's.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway.
First question.
Yes.
How is this movie related to हम साथ साथ हैं? Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak.
In हम साथ साथ हैं, पापा कहते हैं, plays in the background. Yes, in one scene.
So I had a question based on that.
Yes.
So were the rights for the song taken? Because Papa Kehte Hain का parody है उसमें, but I also
Are
counted
you saying Imran's family is owed royalties from
क्योंकि-
Suraj Barjatya?
क्योंकि सिर्फ 7 सेकंड का पार्ट लिया था, and as far as I remember 10 second anything under 10 seconds is allowed, anything above that you need to pay for it. So I was like I'll literally read out the lyrics of that parody. पापा कहते हैं बड़ा नाम करेगा, मगर ये तो कोई न जाने कि मेरी मंजिल है कहाँ, and then cut to another song. So बस उतना ही लिया था पार्ट, which सैफ अली
पैरोडी
खान
कहाँ है? ये तो गाना ही है.
नहीं, बट पैरोडी में भी वो सिर्फ
अच्छा,
उतना ही लिया
okay.
था. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't
It was
know
the
whether-
90s, bro. We just...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at that point, it was the Wild West. So
Yeah.
it is possible that in a gesture of goodwill they would have called and had a conversation. It is I don't know the answer.
Can I just mention though, in the end when Raj stabs himself,
The sad version of Papa Kehte Hain.
And dude,
Yeah.
in my
Kehte
mind,
Hain.
it's etched. Andaz apna Aamir cutting the ribbon for the jail. I was like, I totally forgot that the original placement of this song is in this tragic moment where it's stabbing himself.
That was very
Anyway,
funny.
so I have 1 point.
Second second question. It is something that you both will know. What was the OG title of the film?
This I know is Nafrat Ke Waris.
Yes.
And then knowing this, when you watch the film,
Yes.
you catch the title drop
Yes.
when he's
Yeah.
talking to her father.
I mean,
saying,
Nafrat
"हम
के
आपके
वारिस को
नफरत के
जीतने
वारिस
नहीं देंगे."
नहीं होंगे.
Yeah. But that was, I think Nafrat Ke Waris sounds like a heavier title. And I
Nafrat
would
Ke
have...
Waris sounds like an 80s film.
It sounds like an 80s film.
That's also true.
And as I understand it, that was the title favored by my granddad.
Right.
And the younger group, my mom and my 2 uncles, were like, bro,
And you know who
no
gave
Nafrat Ke
the
Waris.
you know who gave the stamp of approval on that?
Nahi.
Majru Sultanpuri.
Majru Sahab.
Yeah, where he was like...
I like how you are telling him that, by
Yeah,
the way.
because
Yeah,
I-
आपको पता है?
I don't expect a 4-year-old Imran to be
That's
like
true.
Majru Sahab.
Yeah,
आइए
yeah.
थोड़ा शायरी कर लें. So,
Okay, last
yeah,
question.
yeah.
Which recent debutante mentioned that she wants to promote her new film just the way Aamir did in Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak? So the new film is already out, recent film, okay, and she literally promoted the film the way Aamir did, you know, autos पे poster वगैरह लगा के हर एक को flyers देके कि मेरी new film आ रही
Also,
है.
there was this very famous hoarding where it's just Aamir's back and it says, "Who is Aamir Khan?" question mark.
Yeah.
And then next week it would be like, ask the
the
next
girl
door
next-
girl.
next door girl,
And then
yeah.
the third would be meet him in Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak or something like
Because
that.
they literally wanted to promote him as the
Yeah,
boy
yeah,
next
yeah,
door.
yeah.
So इसलिए directly उन्होंने ये words use किए
But a
थे.
young debutante who wants to promote the film, like,
Yeah.
the film is already out.
Already out, and she in her reel
Oh, it's a
which
her.
viral भी गया था. It's a her, yeah. So
Okay.
then and she's a very good actress, मतलब. Yeah.
Okay.
I'll give you
I'm
one.
super unplugged, so I don't even know which films have been coming out.
The film is an Aamir Khan production.
Oh, so
This new film.
Oh,
Lapata
must be
Ladies.
Lapata Ladies.
Yeah.
Okay.
Pratibha Ranta.
हाँ.
Yeah.
Okay.
I loved that film, man.
Yeah, it's a really good film.
Shout out Kiran, good job.
Yes. Not that you need our approval, but please come on the show, Kiran. We'd love to have you. I wanted to this trivia, which again I found out from the book, that Juhi Chawla, of course, was made the cut as the leading lady. Do you know there was one other actress? She was trying to be an actress at that time who was considered for the role, but she didn't make it. She then went on to make her name in another artistic avenue. I'll give you a hint. She was huge in the 90s.
But not an actress.
But not an actress. Though she might have done some on-screen roles, but acting is not what she's primarily known for.
Alka Yagnik?
No.
Very short in the dark.
But
No, I don't
you're in the same, you're in that
Singer
zone.
only?
singer.
She's a singer.
Oh.
Who was big in the 90s?
She was
Alisha
huge in-
Chinoy?
Yes.
Who? Sorry. who?
Alisha
Alisha
Chinoy was in the list for the people
I
who had
never
to
know this.
audition.
I did not know
Yes.
this.
Alisha Chinoy.
The one who made it in India before
Yes.
Make in India could come.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I didn't know that.
I very quickly want to talk about the supporting cast because, of course, the leading pair was new. So Nasir Saab wanted to surround the film with really experienced actors. So there's Goga Kapoor, who plays Randhir Singh. There's Dalip Tahil. There's Alok Nath. I want to quickly talk about the Alok Nath, Dalip Tahil chemistry, if I may use the word, in this
Yeah.
film, where there's this notion that while the father was away, the uncle is the one who sort of
Yeah.
looked after the child. And there's that one scene where Aloknath brings out, he's like, हाँ मैं क्यों बोलूँगा,
Yeah.
बाप तो तुम हो, like, you know.
Who took care of your son while you were in the
Right?
prison?
Yes.
Kids.
Yeah.
How much I've wept for since the first time I saw the film till last night.
It also struck me that maybe Aloknath, both of them, by the way, starred in the TV show Bunyad, which was really big on Doordarshan at that time. That both of these men probably played much older than they were at that time.
Yeah,
right?
because Dilip Tahil plays the young version,
Yes.
and then he has this toothpaste in his hair
Yes.
to make him older.
Yeah. Because
But-
he's probably the age he plays in this film now, right?
Yeah,
36 years later.
yeah.
Yeah.
So he must have been, early to mid 30s probably while making the film. A quick Google will answer that, but he was quite young while making the film.
Yeah.
And in the early parts, when his sister dies, that bit where he walks in with carrying her
The
body and the
corpse,
shotgun
yeah.
on his back.
I love the freeze frame title
Oh,
of
yeah.
the film. It was really cool.
It's powerful, man. And the way he enters with all of that, I was like, dude, it's at this level. But if you're adapting Shakespeare, then you go Shakespearean.
Right, right.
But I really
Powerful
loved,
performance by him.
I really loved that one monologue that Aloknath gives, which just shows that so much attention has been put in the years that that we don't talk about. The
Yeah.
years in which Dilip Tahil goes to the prison, and then
Yeah.
Aloknath had to take care of everyone behind him, right?
Yeah.
So that it really made me think कि if Aamir Khan was brought up by Dilip Tahil, then वो कैसा आदमी बनता? Because
Yeah.
Dilip Tahil is the alpha guy, I'm guessing,
Yeah.
and Aloknath is the relatively
Sort of, yeah, little
Yeah.
bit.
And
you can see
It's
his
such a-
upbringing in that whole exchange, right? In that monologue, and also in the beginning when Aloknath comes to know first about it, right? And he wasn't like कि मार गिराऊंगा, काट डालूंगा, थप्पड़ मारूंगा. He was like नहीं बेटा, let's
All the way through,
Yeah.
he's I think again this is one of those bits that I found to be tremendously progressive.
Yeah.
This portrayal of two different kinds of a father.
Yeah.
The biological father who comes with this hard approach, and all the way through, Aloknath's character is always trying to be understanding. Even right in the beginning, when they go to talk about their sister, Dilip Tahil is the first one to get aggressive.
Right.
And he's like, hey, listen, and he says that line. He says, "Ye hamari izzat ka sawal hai. I leave the decision to you." All the way through, he is trying to be understanding. He is trying to approach it from a place of humility and tenderness.
Yeah.
So why the choice to give the male character that sort of soft fatherly figure, and no one like that on the Juhi
girls,
side?
yeah. So I found that to be a little awkward because for the number of times that we had this interaction, and Aloknath is playing this kind, understanding guy who's always. I
Not
felt
that he doesn't have problems with it, but he's
not he doesn't have problems with it, but he's always being decent.
correct.
I did feel that Rashmi's dad was unnecessarily harsh. There is a bit where they find all the photographs and within the family they're talking, and her uncle says, "Okay, listen, tell her who this boy is.
Right.
When she finds out who he is, she'll want to break up with him." And for some reason, her father says, "Nahi, usko kuch mat batao.
Right.
Hide everything. You'll get her forcibly married off." And I'm like, but why, bro?
Yeah.
I think he again felt a little bit like the 80s stock character, the 80s stock.
He was unnecessarily
authoritative.
villainous.
Yeah.
There's
I think-
2 or 3 moments where you're like, bro, you don't need to be that villainous.
Yeah.
Give it a shot.
But I think that was required to show different styles of parenting, right?
guess,
I
yeah.
think
That
Goga
was
Kapoor playing the
required.
role also added to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also I think it was important just so that for me that moment is very important where when he's hiring the two men to kill Aamir Khan, they say then they ask him कि अगर किसी ने देख लिया तो उसको भी मार देना. I think that is added just so that I saw that coming कि अच्छा
Yeah.
okay, so they'll eventually kill Juhi out of that confusion.
And it also incentivizes the killer because he says, "Har खून की
Yeah.
कीमत 1 lakh."
Exactly.
So for him,
Correct.
if I kill 2 people, I get more money. So
Yeah.
he's incentivized.
Also, it's a very indirect way to sort of tell you about honor killing. That for these men, it's way more important that the family name remain,
Yeah.
the status remains.
Just for Goga Kapoor, I think. Yeah.
But then again, he's doing the Goga Kapoor's bidding,
But
right?
he has picked up also what he got from his father.
Right.
Sorry, I just had to quickly bring up this point. In the beginning, right in the beginning, during that sister wala scene also, I found it really amazing that वो बहन के ऊपर कोई लालछन नहीं लगा रहा है. Like it was all about कि oh you fucker, you impregnated my sister, now you have to marry her. It is not like तुमने हमारी खानदान का नाम मिट्टी में डुबा दिया or something. There's no dialogue like that. It's more like, you know, he has to marry her because he impregnated her. So that also I really liked. That one.
Decent.
Yeah, it is. Come on, it's important.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
There are shades of difficulty, but again, it's, you know, at that time, societal views also would have been a little different. So there are bits which are still slightly uncomfortable. Like, acha, itni badnami hui that they have to leave the village and everyone is left.
Yeah.
But again, I guess we do have to look at it through the lens of
That
1988. Yeah. No, it's interesting that you said you remember the music sittings because Nasir Hussain Saab had this thing about that R.D. Burman would compose all his films. Yeah. And a lot of musicians used by Anand-Milind are also who used to play with R.D. Burman. I read that Mansoor was a drummer and he was very particular about using live drums during the recording. This is the 80s, of course, synthesizers have come in. Yeah. So a lot of people are experimenting. Interestingly, Viju Shah, the music composer, plays the keyboards on the instrumentation in this film. At least he's credited, is what I've seen. Yeah. So, and of course, Alka Yagnik and Udit Narayan are the breakout stars of this film as well. Both of them were singing for Bhojpuri films, the music for which often used to be composed by Anand-Milind's father. So that's how they knew. Also, Anand-Milind composed music for Mansoor Khan's first film, which was called Umberto, which is a short film, I think, which is hard to find. So
I don't think you can find it.
Yeah, so
I think we have it on VHS.
Yeah, so they composed music for that as well, and this then of course Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak was a breakout hit.
Udit Narayan also, I remember, like from then till now, it sounds like Aamir.
Yes,
and you know in the Papa Kehte Hain song, he starts with Aamir's voice saying "Doston, aaj college ka aakhri din hai." He gives that entire speech and you go straight into Udit Narayan singing and you cannot tell that it's two different people's voices.
True.
Yeah.
It's flawless.
In the 90s, this was said, Udit Narayan for Aamir, Abhijit for Shah Rukh, and for some reason SP Balasubramaniam for Salman.
With all due respect, his voice does not sound like Salman Khan's. Over there, the illusion would break. You'd be like, this is not Salman Khan's voice.
But I
Udit
think
Narayan, you know, you could tell people that that's Aamir singing and you'd be like, yeah, I believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, for the
Shan
longest
for
match.
Saif. Shan for Saif Ali Khan.
Shan for Saif also
yes.
matched really well.
Yeah,
That's true.
Yeah, but also like I think "Ae Meri Humsafar" is one of those songs where you could see like you know, this was one of the first few songs जिसमें Udit Narayan is singing sad lyrics with a with like a smile on his face and you can hear it.
You can hear him smiling.
जुदाई का मौसम और music भी है बेटा नहीं अरे जुदाई का मौसम है
दो पल का
कैसे
मेहमान
बचा रहे हो
दो पल का मेहमान
दो पल का
है
मेहमान
understand.
yeah. But I wanted to talk about one quick fact before I talk about my my final point. Ki, this movie won the Indian National Award for Best Popular Film.
Providing wholesome entertainment.
Providing wholesome entertainment.
Yeah.
Wholesome, like it's a nice film, but then how is this wholesome? That was really...
That's a good question. I mean, come to think of it, I don't understand why a nation fell in love with this film, which essentially is like, oh my God, these lovers were so beaten by their familial pressure that they ended up killing themselves. And again, then we go back to the ending debate, right? Where Nasir Hussain wanted it to be a happy ending. He was adamant on it.
And they shot the happy ending.
What was the happy ending?
So the way that played out is that moment, the killer, played by Brij Gopal, has shot Aamir and he's injured. And he approaches him and as it plays out right now, we hear Rashmi's voice. He turns and he shoots her. The way they had...
The editing in that climactic sequence is amazing.
Yeah, it also, the slow motion cut to thing, it's well done.
But
editing by Zafar. Zafar Sultan, I guess.
Yes, you're right.
So the way that they shot the alternate ending was, as this guy turns around to shoot, Goga Kapoor, her father, jumps in front and he takes the bullet. And in that moment, then Aamir overpowers him and shoots him. And then both Raj and Rashmi arrive, and they're holding Goga Kapoor as he dies.
Oh.
And while he dies, he expresses his remorse and regret and says,
वो ending.
due to my foolishness, look at what has happened, and he unites them.
मैं तुम्हारे प्यार को समझ नहीं पाया.
So this was shot.
Yeah.
They filmed this version, and I was not present, but the way it was always told to me was that they were shooting it, but none of them were convinced of it.
Yes.
They were doing it saying, so we have the footage, but even while filming, apparently they were kind of giggling and going, nahi.
Oh.
And Goga
Why
sahab,
so?
I guess they were, the story is that they were not at all convinced.
Actually,
by-
Mansoor Khan from the beginning was
He was
very
like, "Kabhi nahi."
particular
Yeah.
that it should be a tragic ending. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So apparently, even while filming it, they were like, nahi.
Where are all this footage, all this secret stuff that was shot but never released?
So
In some vault somewhere? in Bombay?
yeah, so we do have all of the original celluloid 35mm masters kept in a humidity controlled, temperature controlled facility.
Wow, what a treasure trove.
Yeah. I don't know if any of the original footage of the alternate ending exists. This is something that Mansoor and Aamir would have a better understanding of.
We also in the break mentioned your grandfather made a film with Rajesh Khanna,
Yes.
which was called
Baharon Ke Sapne.
Baharon Ke Sapne, which was one of the reasons why he was very adamant on a happy ending.
Yeah.
Because that film had a
tragic ending.
tragic ending, and the film did not do well.
So my grandfather had this image with the audience
Yes.
of an entertainer, a joyous entertainer. So the backstory of Baharon Ke Sapne is that it was based off a short story that he had written while he was in college.
Right.
And he had won
gold
some kind of
medal.
a prize for this. And it was kind of a
Passion project.
It was a passion project, and it was also a kind of a relevant social story. It was about the oppression of mill workers and exploitative labor practice and all of this. So ultimately, it was meant to be a hard-hitting film. Which
People
he
saw it and were like, "अरे हम तो entertain होने आए थे, ये
Yeah.
क्या दिखा दिया?"
and so there is a whole dramatic backstory to how these films also came about.
Right.
We
We have time.
You have time?
Yes.
I'll tell you
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
I'll tell you the backstory. In fact, my granddad was making two films simultaneously as a producer. Baharon Ke Sapne originally would not have been directed by him.
Okay.
It was going to be directed by Vijay Anand.
Okay. Devanand's brother, who's known for making
Exactly.
suspense thrillers.
Yeah. So my grandfather was producing it, and Vijay Anand was going to direct this
Direct it.
film. Meanwhile, my grandfather was starting work on another film which he was producing and directing, Teesri Manzil, starring Dev Anand.
Oh. Okay.
Now, as the legend goes, one evening there was an altercation or a disagreement between Dev Saab and my grandfather. Because the films were kind of ready to go.
Okay.
Teesri Manzil was going to be this, jazzy musical extravaganza.
Right. Hitchcocky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Baharon Ke Sapne is this black and white film and kind of a social commentary film. Dev Saab was, as I understand it, a bit upset with my grandfather because he said, "You're giving my brother this black and white depressing film to direct.
And you're taking the jazzy
and you are making this jazzy color film." You know, color versus black and white also was a
Yes.
debate.
Yes.
So you're making this film in color and it's aisa hai, and you're making him direct this film in black and white. You're hobbling his career from the get-go. My grandfather was a man with a bit of a temper. So in the heat of the moment, he said, "Acha, I have faith in both projects. So right now, we will swap. I'll direct Baharon Ke Sapne in black and white. Vijay Anand will direct Teesri Manzil in color,
Right.
but without you."
And then Shami Kapoor. Of
And
course,
he
got-
dropped Dev Saab from the film.
Yeah. Yeah.
Called Shammi uncle. He and Shammi uncle were like brothers.
Right.
And said, "Listen, I need you to do this film for me." as it happens, I cannot imagine Teesri Manzil without Shammi Kapoor.
Exactly. Yes.
What other actor could, with all due respect to Dev Saab,
Yeah, of course.
for me, Shammi Kapoor is there.
Right.
So that's how it happened. So
Wow.
they swapped films, and my grandfather ended up making Baharon Ke Sapne in black and white with this hard-hitting ending where the boy and girl die in the end. And the moment the film released, he went out to the theatres to kind of gauge audience reaction, and it was a very subdued reaction. Everyone was coming out saying, Nasir Hussain ne kya kiya hai? What is he? He's made such a depressing film. And he panicked. So what you could do in those days was he pulled every print back from release, pulled them all from theatres, shot a new ending, a happy ending, and re-released it into theatres. But by this point, the buzz was out, it was already middling, and it could never quite recover.
Right.
And I have not seen the original ending of that either. But my uncles who have seen the original ending tell me that the original ending actually works much better. So that ending sadly is now lost to us. I don't think we'll ever get to see it. One of those tragedies of cinema, no?
So fascinating.
What could have been? What could have been?
Was there anything, this is just like a doubt I had, that was there anything about, being a part of a film family that you thought this is the normal for everyone? Like, this is the one thing that Abhishek Bachchan, I think, had mentioned in an interview, that he thought सबके घर के बाहर लोग hello बोलने आते हैं उनके पापा को. This is something that he thought ये तो सबके घर के बाहर होता है. And I think he had mentioned that काफी बड़े होने के बाद पता चला नहीं ये सबके साथ नहीं होता है. So did you have any such
Your mamu is not a star, what?
तुम्हारे घर पे randomly films की बात नहीं होती है, क्या बात कर रहे हो? So, did you have any such, any of these eureka moments? Ki, oh, okay, this is just specific to my family.
No, because, my family was always very removed from that part of the thing.
Right.
Bear in mind, my father had nothing to do with the movies.
Yeah.
He's a tech guy. He's in Silicon Valley through his life. I grew up in a house where my mom, my stepdad, by this point my grandfather had retired. He was not making films.
Right.
So my uncle, Aamir, was a big star. But he was removed by a couple of degrees. He lived in a separate house. So he was a famous relative. It was not like, तो मेरे घर में कुछ नहीं था. There was never people outside my house.
Right.
And I saw these things from very early. I remember going to Bangalore for the promotions of Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak. And at the end of MG Road, there was one theatre. The theatre ka naam ab bhul gaya. But I've been to this theatre. Coincidentally, many years later, I went and I watched Kaho Na Pyar Hai in the same theatre.
Oh, okay. I know the theatre you're talking about because I lived in Bangalore, but even I can't remember the name right now. It's a nice English name.
Naam bhul gaya. But I remember we were in this theatre for promotions of Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak. And the theatre got surrounded by these crazy mobs of people who started throwing stones at the place. And we were inside, hiding out in the manager's, theatre manager's office. And stones were coming through the windows and we were hiding in the bathroom.
Throwing stones because Aamir wasn't coming out?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then we piled into these cars, ambassadors, and we're starting to drive out. और वहाँ से we were, I guess, in the second car, and the car in front of us, somebody threw a stone that way through the windshield.
Wow.
So I was absolutely horrified. At this point, I was 5 years old, 6 years old.
Yeah.
So to see that kind of a response from very young, I had an aversion to this sort of thing. I said, "Arey yaar, audience pagal hai." So that kind of madness, I saw it as an unusual thing, and I saw it as कि इससे दूर रहो. So for me, I had an understanding and an appreciation of the difference between that public life, film life, and normal life. So my upbringing, my growing up was not the upbringing of the son of a star or any of this.
Correct, you had a few degrees of separation.
I had a couple degrees of separation. It was, my uncle is a famous guy. No one in my direct orbit was.
Correct. I want to talk about, so your mom is very involved in the making of Jo Jeeta Woh Sikandar. She works on the costumes.
And Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak, yeah.
Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak.
On all of these films.
Works on
Jo
the
Jeeta.
costumes. She develops the story with your uncle. Again, in the book, her name keeps coming up again and again. Why didn't she, you think, pivot completely to the movies? And like, does this film come up in your conversations with her at all?
I think for her, and I'm speaking on her behalf,
Yeah,
I don't know for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it was
Actually,
always-
while reading the book, I was like, कि इमरान की मम्मी को बुलाना चाहिए था इस episode के लिए.
she will have a lot of great
Of course,
behind the
yeah.
scenes
Yeah,
stories,
yeah.
man. So my feeling and my understanding of it is that her interest was in working with the family.
Right.
So enough interest to say I'll work with you guys. Not interested enough to work with somebody else. Like, bhai, because then you're dealing with a lot of extra
Correct.
stuff.
True.
And you're like, I don't care. I'm not going to sit and have creative debates with some other director. I'm working with my brother, with my father, with family.
Yeah.
Here we'll have creative debates. I'm not going to get into it with someone outside.
True.
That would be my take on it.
Okay. Got it. The film was shot by Kiran Devhans,
Yeah.
who was again Mansoor Khan's friend.
Yeah.
He shoots this film, then he, for some reason, disappears for 14 years. He comes back in 2001 and he shoots 2 films. And do you want to take a guess what those two films are? They are, I mean, one of them is one of the most famous Indian films ever made. And one of the other ones is like a cult
2001,
film.
right?
2001.
Kabhi Khushi Kabhi No.
Yes,
Kabhi
that's
Khushi
one.
Kabhi Gum.
Yes, he
Oh.
shoots that, and the other one also stars Amitabh Bachchan, but is like one of those cult films that isn't.
Suryavansham.
No.
Okay.
90s.
Okay.
Uh,
So
I'll-
Suryavansham is 2000s, early 2000s.
2000, but it
Yeah.
feels like it was from the 90s. I don't know.
Yeah.
But this other film also stars Manoj Bajpayee.
No. Sorry, that is 1998.
I know, Ux.
Yes,
Oh,
he shoots Ux,
nice.
and from then he shoots Jodha Akbar. He shoots the new Agnipath with Hrithik Roshan, and then since then he's shot quite a bit of. Quite a lot of great films, but yeah, that was one of the other things that film was known for, the visual look. A lot of places where the silhouette
Kiran is
of
very
the
good,
sun is very prominent, and that was like Mansoor and Kiran working together was really good.
I love how sunsets used to, I think 1988 से लेके I think 90s में sunset shots were used very nicely. Like I remember this one song Aja Mahiya in Fizza. उसमें भी like the entire portion, like a huge chunk of the song is shot in the sunset. Dance कर रहे हैं,
Yeah.
वो sun को खा रहा है.
वो
ऋतिक
सुन के
रोशन,
मैं
that
वही
was
याद
very-
आ रहा है कि the lyrics of the song was आज धूप मालूम है,
तेरे
and
हाथों
everybody
में,
in school was
yeah.
आज थूक मालूम है तेरे हाथों में, and they would spit on your hand.
Oh, God.
Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak was the third highest grossing film of 1988. Do you guys want to take a guess on what the first and second film were on that list? Highest grossing.
1988.
Any
This is
hints?
1988.
Actor कौन?
Help us out a
Sunny
little
Deol?
bit.
नहीं.
Okay, wait.
what-
It had to be an Anil Kapoor. Anil Kapoor has to be
you
in
are
there.
right.
Beta?
No, Beta came afterwards. Beta is
Acha, Beta was that,
1989, I think, is Beta.
Yes. This is one of Anil's iconic performances.
Tezab.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Tezab is also, Alka Yagnik sings great songs in this, but of course she won the Filmfare Award for Ek Do Teen because from Tezab, which was the breakout song of that year.
Tezab.
Number 2, we've already spoken about this actor in this episode. Okay, this is, I guess, a superhero film, I can say, from the 80s.
Wait.
Yes.
Is it Shahenshah?
Yes, it
It
is.
is Shahenshah.
Let's round off the top 5. So number 3 is Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak. Number 4, Urjita, is a film we've covered on this podcast. It's a female-led film. It's not.
अरे
No.
the खून भरी मांग.
Yes,
Yeah.
Khoon Bari Maang.
Khoon Bari Maang.
Yes. And number 5 is a film I have never heard of before, but it stars Sridevi, Mithun Chakrabarti, and Maushami Chatterjee.
Oh, I have no idea. No, very.
Devi and
Mithun Chakrabarti and Maushami
Maushami
Chatterjee.
Chatterjee.
It's a 3-letter film. I've never not seen this film. I'll tell you who directed. It was directed by K. Bapaiya, who I guess.
of course.
Yes. Dear Bapu, yeah. K Bapu. I have no
Any
idea.
guesses? It also starred like the who's who of 80s cinema. Kader Khan, Shakti Kapoor, Ranjit, Gulshan Grover, Asrani.
मैंने lineup ही
It's a remake of a
देखा
Telugu
नहीं है,
film.
So नहीं. Sridevi, Mithun and Moshu
no.
Jadeja.
And Mansoor Khan. It's a film called Waqt Ki Awaaz,
Oh.
which was the 5th highest grossing film of 1988.
You said 3-lettered film, so I was like.
What did I say?
You said 3-lettered.
Oh, sorry,
so I was
3-word
like,
film.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was my fault, guys.
Yeah,
of course, you knew
Otherwise,
it.
I could have
Waqt ki
guessed.
awaaz, bro.
Yeah, Waqt ki.
But clearly, Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak stands out in the compared to the other four. Tezab, Shahenshah, Khoon Bari Maang, and Waqt Ki Awaaz.
Speak for yourself, bro. I'm on the Shahenshah supremacy gang.
Like, I can already imagine Waqt ki आवाज कैसी दिख रही होगी. Not,
Oh,
not
I mean,
print तो अलग ही रहेगा.
for our audio
थोड़ा.
listeners, the poster is essentially Sridevi and Mithun are forming a triangle with their legs. And
Illuminati, yeah.
No, in the middle of the triangle is Moshomi Chatterjee.
Illuminati, yeah.
Illuminati. Yes, that. Should we do the categories? Any last thoughts you want to share about
thoughts.
Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak? Anything you... Okay, we'll
I want to give a shout out to the in Papa Kehte Hain. A side gag that I've always loved is the principal of the college.
Okay.
Yeah.
We keep seeing he's enjoying the music, and his wife keeps leaning over and telling me, "Stop, calm down. It doesn't look good." So 2-3 times we see him getting into the music, and she keeps saying, "Shh, quiet." And third time he's like, "Bas, bahut ho gaya." He jumps up and picks her up, and they launch into this great jive. So they were both professional dancers, and
like that song Auntie Ji, Auntie Ji.
Yeah.
What was that film? Oh yes, Ek Mein Aur Ek
Ek
Tu.
mein aur ek tu. Yeah, we've already discussed it, no?
Yeah. Who started? Oh yes.
Yeah.
उसमें तो करीना कपूर थी.
Kareena Kapoor thi.
But that character also reminded me of Boman Irani's character in Main Hoon Na, because he
Yeah.
was also this over-enthusiastic principal.
Exactly, yeah.
So, that
Have you
was-
guys
I would
seen-
like to think that maybe some inspiration was taken from
Yeah,
there.
definitely. Yeah.
But I have always loved that side gag because it's wordless,
Yeah,
but we
yeah.
understand he's getting into it and she's going shh, chup, aise kya?" and then he
The
launches into
CJ.
great dancing,
Yeah.
and they're both like really good dancers. So I shout out to them. I always loved them.
So again, I brought up the Mansoor Khan drumming thing because I think music sessions were one of the things he used to look forward to while making the film, because he was very attuned to the music, and he would love Nasir Saab's sessions with R.D. Burman while growing up. So apparently he gave Anand-Milind visual cues of how he was thinking of shooting the song, and based off of that they would compose the music. So there's also, I think, Aamir Hamsafar mein there's this cue he gave that there'll be scenes of Juhi crossing out the dates.
Yeah.
So I don't know how that made Anand-Milind creative juices flow, but it did. Cool, let's do the categories. Imran, Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak from 1988. What do you think has aged the best, and what do you think has not aged very well from that film? Aged the best, ab ye mat bolna ki my Mamu has aged the best because he's amazing.
I mean, no, I've aged the best from them.
Hey, but that's
Actually,
the...
we can't argue with that.
We had the same answer for Jaane Tu Jaane Na also. You can't repeat answers now.
For me, what I feel has
Smooth.
aged the best and my favorite bit is Alok Nath's portrayal of fatherhood.
Ooh, okay.
As a father character in a Hindi film from that era, particularly contrasting him with Dilip Tahil. Throughout the thing, you're seeing these two different fathers that this character that Raj has. He's got his biological father who's got this strong
Alpha.
grip, and his surrogate father who's actually raised him with kind of tenderness and consideration.
Yeah.
And the contrasting of these two, I thought was really, really good. I thought it was very progressive for its time. I think it holds up very nicely today. To see him modeling that kind of fatherhood, there's that whole scene where, little bit on the nose if you look at it through today's lens, where he says, "Maine kya kiya,"
Right.
but it still works.
Yeah.
And slightly before that.
My inner monologue was, yes, Alok Nath, bring on the waterworks.
Bring it.
It's one of those monologues that if a biological dad had said the same thing to his son,
Yeah.
वो काफी dramatic और emotional blackmail भरा होता.
That would be emotional blackmail.
Yeah, but the fact that he was not his biological father and he was still saying all of those things and also sticking
And
to
the-
his word.
And the
And-
fact
and
that
he's
the
saying
son
it-
is not in the room while he's doing it,
Yeah.
I think adds.
And he's saying it to stand up for him because Dilip Tal is saying कि उसको मारूंगा. And you
Yeah.
have, he's like, मत मारो.
Yeah.
And he says उसको अभी वो बुरे वक्त से गुजर रहा है, उसको हमदर्दी की ज़रूरत है. He's understanding that part.
Yeah.
But prior to that, there is that bit where there's the accident. Goga Kapoor tries to kill Raj,
Murder.
tries to murder him straight up.
Yeah.
And
I
after
like he
that,
checks couple of like there's a scene where he looks at him and there's a flashback. हाँ ये तो वही है जो शादी में आया था.
Yeah.
Now let me.
Yeah.
and when Alok Nath comes and speaks to Raj,
Yeah.
Raj lies to him. He says, I had to tell her that it's all over and all of this. And this guy says, okay, I'll keep your secret. He's saying, इसलिए क्योंकि मुझे तुम्हारे कहे पर भरोसा है. So he's giving him trust rather than saying, I'll punish you. Now, it's a very loaded scene because Raj knows he's lying.
Yeah.
He's lying to this man who is showing him this kind of tenderness and understanding. He accepts the lie and says, I trust you.
Yeah.
So that aspect of that character, I found it to be a very positive portrayal of fatherhood, particularly for the 80s and compared to a lot of modern films also.
Yeah.
What do you think hasn't aged well?
What has not aged well?
And I know this is, again, like you said, you grew up while the making of this film as a very personal connect to it. But
Yeah.
still, if I were to ask you to be as objective as possible.
To me, there are shades of Goga Kapoor's character, the father, who I felt were maybe slightly excessively villainish.
Okay.
That scene comes to mind particularly, where they're telling her, why don't you, they tell him, why don't you tell Rashmi who this guy is? और वो अपने आप नफरत करने लगेगी. नहीं, उसको कुछ मत बताओ. क्यों? So there are shades of that where he is being...
it almost feels like he would break the fourth wall and like, नहीं क्योंकि मैं villain हूँ और मुझे
Yeah.
मेरी villainy का वो motive नहीं मिलेगा अगर.
Contrast दिखाना है भाई.
Those, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything on the technical front that you would think, because again you worked in the movie, so I think you would
Yeah.
be a good person to answer that.
No, technically also, I think it is quite well done. There are bits that are scary, two bits. That bit where Goga Kapoor's character rams the bike.
Right.
It's not a very fancy stunt by today's
Correct.
standards.
But
But
it's still-
there's nothing
Agreed.
protecting. They just say, ride the bike and say, bro, girja.
Yeah.
And when
Your uncle
Dilip
has
Tahil
a
is...
knack for that. For Ghulam, he ran towards
A train, yeah.
train coming to his way. So.
And
second
when Dilip Tahil is driving Rashmi back to the campsite and interrogating her.
Yeah.
That, now, consider that there is not a car rig for this.
Yes.
He is self-driving,
Yes.
an old Willis
Jeep.
left-hand drive Jeep. There's no power steering on this thing. There's no air suspension or they've strapped an Ariflex camera to the front. So he is driving with that camera rig there, acting his ass off and driving like this. And there's that bit where the truck goes past them.
Right.
And in the frame, you can see how close they are. They don't even have seatbelts in this Jeep. They've got Dilip Tahil and Juhi Chawla sitting in this thing with no seatbelts, no nothing, and they're just zipping along the roads. And they're like, sir, just go as close to the truck as you can, sir. It's scary.
Imran, they didn't tell you it was green screen. I'm surprised you didn't know that.
They're pioneering the green screen.
Yes,
They
in
actually shot it
1988.
in Mauritius, yeah.
Where the trucks are way more lenient
Yes.
than the roads of Mount Abu, I guess.
But like watching a couple of those now, I was like, oh, that must have been scary, man. That's kind of sketchy.
Can I ask a question? So, like, now that you're making films also, you've made a film. I mean, when you watch a film, is your first instinct to decode how was this done? Or is that something that you think of on a second, third viewing?
I do both things parallelly, simultaneously.
Is that possible?
For me, it is.
Okay.
So I am I have one track that is running all of the technical stuff and the filmmaker brain of how did they shoot this, where's the thing, how's it mounted, here's the cut. All of that is running, and simultaneously there is
The emotion.
the emotional audience, and I'm a very, very invested audience. I cheer and I'm like, I weep, I clap, I cheer. So I'm a super invested audience.
Right.
So I do both things simultaneously, seamlessly, and one doesn't interfere with the other.
Okay. All right.
In some ways, the technical part actually enhances the
emotion,
experience.
the audience.
Because in moments like that, where, say, the truck goes past and she gets scared, it is a scary jump scare, but also that little thing in my head which says, they're actually driving and there's no seatbelts.
Right.
So I'm like, oh shit, it's extra scary.
Yeah.
So for me, I do both things, and mostly it enhances my enjoyment.
Okay.
I'm a very, 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 very forgiving, and I'm a forgiving viewer. I go into
That's very
all
nice,
films wanting to like everything,
Absolutely. Yeah.
and by and large, the only thing that turns me off is if I am not on board with your intent.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I feel कि your intent is there and you have put your heart in it, अब कहीं कोई technical कमी रह गई, there is this, I'm like, doesn't matter. They didn't have budget, that, the set looks little artificial. चलेगा. और सब कुछ चलेगा if I'm there with the intent and I feel the heart is there. I'm like, love it. Good job. Good effort.
Same,
well done.
same, yeah.
अरे ये देखो बारिश में shooting किया. How difficult it must have been.
Yeah.
Right.
So
But
I'm-
how does one gauge the intent? Is it something that's like almost...
feel it.
Feel it. Right.
I would have given a few examples of a few recent films
Tell no.
जिसमें नहीं मुझे नाम नहीं लेना क्योंकि हमने वो नाम बहुत
Like
बार
of
ले
bad
चुके हैं.
intent?
Yeah,
अच्छा, okay.
bad
Yeah,
intent.
then we
Where
shouldn't.
everything was top class, the choreography, the technicality, the box office
हाँ,
collection,
आपके budget
everything.
बहुत है. But
Yeah. But the intent you can clearly see was bad. Anyway.
From you, what's aged the best and what hasn't
What's
aged so
aged the
well?
best? I think I also wanted to say the Alok Nath answer. Like that one monologue, it really struck me because I was like, this came out of the blue because honestly I also hadn't thought about it कि दिलीप तायल के जाने के बाद life कैसा रहा होगा. And in that
This guy
one
raised him.
monologue, yeah, you clearly see
The
everything.
years where Imran was growing up.
Exactly,
to be
and I
honest.
love the fact that Alok Nath is like, this is in contrast to Alok Nath's own characters in other films also, where he's playing this compulsive authoritarian figure, where he's like, what, you are my kid, you will do what I say. So another thing that I really liked, which has aged well for me, this existed just in case of Aamir Khan, not Juhi Chawla, is the agency which Alok Nath had given him कि listen, this is the scenario, तेरे बाप ने इनका murder किया था, because warring families, वो पूरा context देने के बाद he was like, you make a decision. That was really unusual, like even though he was implying that you have to stop seeing her, but then still he gave him that option. That and even in Juhi Chawla's case, the other uncle was also like, if Juhi knew about it, she wouldn't go behind him. Instead of just ki, oh, ye dono lovers hai, hum inko alag karenge.
Yeah.
So that, I think that has really aged well for me. The agency, the subtle sign of agency. And the songs, of course, the songs. Ae Mere Humsafar, मुझे पूरा गाना वो रट्टा है, मैं बचपन से सुनती आ रही हूँ वो. It is always there in my offline playlist. And what has aged the worst for me? I think, I don't know, man.
It's okay. Just because Imran is here, you need not hold yourself.
No.
Achha, I'll give you a pointer.
Yeah.
Slightly uncomfortable
tell
thing
me.
of
Yeah.
their first meeting when she's taking pictures of him with the sunset.
Yeah.
Then he disappears. Peeche aake goes, yeah, and grabs her. It's like, unwanted touching.
But then
consent.
aren't we being too like
So I'm being extra.
nitpicking?
I'm being extra
Yeah.
nitpicky, but I'm saying there is a lens where you
लड़का
can
लड़की
say,
को प्यार में दिखाना है तो कुछ तो दिखाना पड़ेगा.
हाँ, but like पहली without knowing the girl yet.
Yeah.
I don't know her name. I've never seen her.
Sure.
दूर से एक लड़की दिखी. Sneak up behind her and go, ha, grab her.
Yeah.
So,
True.
क्या मतलब ये normal नहीं है? मुझे तो पता नहीं था ये normal
Who
नहीं
have
है.
you been hanging out
But,
with? But yeah, what's your take?
Yeah, so I think the fact that Juhi Chawla did not have agency, matlab,
Oh really?
she
Okay.
was,
I thought
yeah.
she did.
not really.
As
she
compared
was
to
not
other
given.
heroines.
I mean, not
That is a
with Aamir.
circumstance,
I
I
was
felt.
talking about her family.
With her family, yeah.
with her family. But that is the normal.
That is her circumstance. She
Yeah.
is, and that is shown as being oppressive. And she is trying to break out from that. So her intent is there, and so it's there is a fine line there. Okay, the thing you are showing, are you portraying it as being acceptable or not? And her lack of agency is portrayed with a negative lens. That bit where her father says ke college jana band, and she asks him ke my this guy is going to decide my future. हमारे खानदान में ऐसे ही होता है. And while he's saying that, his wife is on the side looking off like this and kind of, so we get an understanding that
there's
it's uncomfortable.
one person who's already gone through this kind of shit.
She has gone through this. He is saying it, but it's not being excused or forgiven. It is so she does not have agency, but that is also a negative thing. That's showing it as negative.
See, when you have a guest who's that close to making movies, this is what will happen. We'll point out this thing, but he'll give an explanation of that.
Because
and I'm like, हाँ भाई मैं गलत आप सही.
Because even that scene that you were talking about, that is something that was shown in Lapata Ladies also, where Pratibha Ranta's mom, she tells her no कि तू पढ़ेगी या नहीं ये तेरा पति decide करेगा. So exactly the same dialogue was there in Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak, where he was like कि तू पढ़ेगी या नहीं,
36 years
your in-laws will decide that. So like I don't have any specific answer for it, but
that is the thing within films. There is a fine line between portraying something that is unpleasant and supporting it. It's like if you portray it, how it is there, it is part of life. What kind of a lens are we putting on it as filmmakers? The simplest thing is if you are showing someone committing a murder. अब लोग खून करते हैं. Now, this does not. Now, I'm not saying that you do not show the thing. You show it, but you say, "Acha, this person has killed someone." It's a scary thing. It's a disturbing thing. It's a horrible thing. So that is the lens we put on it. Or we can portray it in a way that forgives it and condones it. अच्छा है उसको मारा.
So one way is, of course, to make it explicit that I'm showing a heinous act. But
not just explicit. It is how do we, as a filmmaker,
how does the audience perceive it?
Yeah, and as a filmmaker, we will choose the lens and explain to you how to feel about it. This is the craft. I will not.
Is there a chance of the filmmaker misreading that?
Not if you have any. If you are a half talented filmmaker. Nahi. Without naming a specific film, I'll tell you this moment that I saw, which kind of troubled me. It's a scene of violence. When some bad guys are attacking the village or the town, and the hero comes and he's fighting back the bad guys. So usme he stabs one guy or like rams him with a rod, and this blood splatters in super slow motion. He hits the guy. And it is a startlingly violent moment. The next shot is of a young child in the village nodding his head. So, as a filmmaker, I have made the choice to juxtapose these two images together. Suppose the shot following that was one of people going like this, you would feel differently.
Correct.
By showing you a small child nodding in approval as someone gets stabbed, I am justifying and condoning it. If I replace that shot with a shot of that same child going, you will feel horrified by it. This is a creative choice made by the filmmaker.
Correct.
To nudge you in a direction. How do I want you to feel about this moment? जो आप देख रहे हैं. The classic lesson which I took from Hitchcock, he has said this a few times, saying that you make a film in edit. Saying I can take a shot of Cary Grant doing this, one little smile. Ab, uske pehle if I put a shot of kids playing on a playground and Cary Grant smiles, you're like, kitna acha aadmi hai. I remove the shot of the kids and I put a shot of a girl's skirt getting blown up. And I say, अरे कितना गंदा आदमी है. उसका shot वही है, उसका performance वही है. The shot which I put before that is going to influence how you feel.
Yeah. So, but that's what I mean when I say that. Then that's the filmmaker making it explicitly clear how they want to play the audience,
Yes.
for lack of a better term.
How we want you to feel.
But then there are also times when filmmakers say that our job is to show the thing and let the audience decide, right? This is a
That's
very
for the bigger scenes.
I would disagree with that.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you an
Because-
example. So
Because then you are taking away the filmmaker's creative agency.
okay,
We are not documentarians.
right.
If you're making a documentary film, okay, but even within that, you are choosing where to point your camera. The choice that we as creative people make is this. This is the box. Saying here,
Yeah.
yahan dekho, yahan nahi. Watch it from this moment to this moment. All of these, we are choosing where to put the frame. We are choosing which images to juxtapose with each other. That is creative choice. And that is part of the... it is emotional manipulation.
Sure.
It sounds bad.
Right.
But truthfully, that is what we are in the business
Of
of.
course, yeah.
We are putting a lens on something.
Yeah.
It is, I think that it is a cop out to say, "Ki, "Arey, main to bas aisa." Sir, then you don't have creative.
Yeah.
Then you're not a talented person. Where is your creative input on this?
And
Are you not choosing where to point your camera?
Yeah. And the very fact that different camera angles mean different things. Like if you're shooting something from the top angle,
Yeah.
then it means somebody is getting subdued. If you're shooting something from the lower angle,
Yeah.
it means that person is in power.
Of course,
So the cinema has a language.
Okay.
You will have a sensitivity to this. We've started to
Yeah.
talk more and more about the male gaze versus the female gaze.
Right.
Yeah.
So the way a camera will follow someone or look at someone or linger on someone,
Yeah.
are we saying that I have no say in this? ये मेरे हाथ में नहीं है. ये तो बस लड़की है. I'm not objectifying her with my camera. It is a cop out.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I just want to come back to this. So, for me, what's aged the best from Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak, I think, is the music. I think I absolutely love the film. What's not aged well? What's not aged well? Forgetting English words. Conversation has gone too deep and intense, Imran. I'm forgetting language. So, let me put it this way. Like I said, 36 years from the year the film came out, there are certain aspects like the Thakurs fighting, some dialogues in the film. Of course, for the time it was written in, they are your quintessential filmy dialogues, which sometimes when I heard some lines in this film, I cringed a little. Like, oh, this is what I've heard, grown up hearing in parodies. So to see, quintessential Hindi film parroting these lines.
Like
Like
मुझे अभी याद नहीं
हमारे
है।
खानदान की इज्जत दाव पर है, stuff like that, which is like we've grown out of that. I
वो तो
feel.
अभी भी
But it's also
तुम्हारे
Shakespeare.
फैमिली में नहीं बोलते क्या?
No man,
Normal है क्या?
I want to
बात
hang
कर
out with your family once in a while, Urjita. So I think
But that's also adapting Shakespeare.
sure, yeah.
तो Shakespearean scale का है. This is my take on it. It is retro dialogue. I actually watched it with a friend who's younger. He's 30s, and he was having a slightly harder time with some of the dialogue. He's like, I'm not getting all of these words because there is I think a fair bit of Urdu also in there.
Yeah.
So it is language from another time.
Right. Also, the film was very low on the humor quotient, I think. Like,
Yeah,
I'm
it's not very
comparing
funny.
this to Jojita Wohi Sikandar, which I think is way more playful, way more funny.
Yeah, it's not as funny.
Yeah. So I think the film was a little low on humor. It's like very serious drama.
The only
Yeah.
like laugh I remember, I laughed when Juhi was like, मुझे तो तुमसे बात करने का मन कर रहा है, पता नहीं इतनी रात हो गई है फिर भी मुझे तुमसे बात करना. I was like, that's crazy. Girl, तुम लोग जंगल में खो गए हो और तुझे इससे बात करनी है. Like typical girl behavior, I get it. If you fall in love with the guy, you lose your brain somewhere. I get it. But still.
In that sequence, there's that he drops that line on her. No, he says, "तो क्या मैं इस भयानक जंगल में रात अकेले शौकीन गुजार रहा हूँ." He's like, "Am I?" And he walks off, and she's like, her delivery of that also, I really liked.
If you had to program a double feature with Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak, what film would you?
Ooh, interesting. I would double program Jojita Wohi Sikandar.
Okay.
Nice.
because, and I'm saying this from having watched Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak last night. It's heavy when it ends, man. Like it took me an hour or so because as you're starting to build to the climax, there is a sense of dread. You're like,
Yeah.
oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no.
Yeah.
It's heavy. And
And contrast that to the triumphant ending of Jojita.
yeah, so I feel like because it's the same actor director combination,
Yeah.
you can get on the same vibe and say, "Acha, now pick this up," and Jojita ends on much more of a high.
Yeah.
So I think it's a
good,
decent double.
Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak is Jo Marta Bhai Sikandar, if you think about it.
Somewhere.
The Jeeta and Jo Jeeta means a different thing over here.
The English translation was Doomsday to Doomsday. I'm
Doomsday,
like, why?
Doomsday. Yeah.
It's like an apocalyptic film. For
Yeah.
you, if you had to program a double feature,
Okay, don't kill me. Tum
I
Mere
won't.
Ho.
what is Tum Mere Ho?
You don't know Tum Mere Ho?
Oh shit.
This is another iconic Aamir Khan Juhi Chawla film. It's like whatever. I can't believe I watched Tum Mere Ho before Qayamat Se Qayamat
Neither can
Tak.
I have not seen Tum Mere Ho.
Why have you not seen it? Oh my god.
But give your reasons
It's-
why.
Tum Mere Ho, because it's a proper cringe watch, okay? Proper cringe watch. And that film, it's like everything you watched in Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak, हमने जिन भी चीज़ों की तारीफ की, oh, this is progressive. Forget all of it while watching Tum Mere Ho. Here Aamir Khan is
Wait, what
forcing...
year did it cover?
Yeah, Aamir Khan is
The next
basically
year, I think
forcing
1990.
forcing himself on Juhi. Not forcing himself, but then he's like forcing Juhi to marry him and all and everything. But
Yeah.
Tum Mere Ho, by the way, is
1990.
directed by his father.
I meant it's a complex film. It's a movie of its time. Let's just say that.
I have a memory of while they were prepping for Tum Mere Ho, Aamir plays a snake charmer in the film.
Yes.
Oh
yes.
wow, I already love it.
Yeah. And his iconic dialogue is choose, choose. That's it. I don't know. It's just there.
Sorry, you were saying.
I remember those dialogues more.
Is there a euphemism of him being a snake?
There's no euphemism.
Sorry,
he's
he's
trying to
telling-
save
I
a
could
life.
just-
He's trying to save a life and he says, choose this guy. Anyway, yeah. coming
Life saving,
back.
okay.
Yeah. There's a story.
Sorry, what's the memory you had?
Yeah, sorry.
Of Tum Mere Ho?
I have a memory of him hanging out with an actual snake charmer. So this guy would come home with
Oh.
snakes
That's such an
to
Aamir
teach
Khan
him how
thing,
to handle the snakes and how to be authentic and all. And this was my first experience also handling snakes. And he had these baby cobras.
How old were you? Sorry, how old were you? Do you
I
remember?
would have been
Year after 5,
Yeah.
6, I think. Yeah.
I would have been 6, maybe
Okay.
6, 7, something like that
Not
when they were
that
filming.
old then. Yeah. Huh.
And I remember this snake charmer coming home and doing sessions training Aamir. And Aamir brought the snakes out. He's like, come, I'll teach you also. So I was handling these little snakes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I have this memory of the film. So I never saw the film. Still have not watched the film.
Please watch, please.
I have to, yeah. Just for this line. I'm going to make a meme out of this. If you can't,
But what-
if you're in a restaurant and you're trying to decide what should I have, juice. I can't make up my mind. Should I have coffee or iced tea? Juice. Which is the better film, do you think? Tum Mere Ho or Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak?
On the
Juice!
on an
By
entire-
by the description so far, I think it's Tum Mere Ho.
Tum Mere
But
Ho,
did
yeah.
anything happen, like a snake bite or something?
No.
Acha, okay.
But if you get charmed by Tum Mere Ho, are you a snake?
Charmed?
Are you a snake?
Okay, I think we're
If
going
you
into.
think about
We're closing. We already recorded for 2 hours.
Yeah.
I think we are on on that 2-hour podcast brain. But for me, I would like to program Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak, which was this which announced the arrival of this young romantic hero. So I would like to pair it with this other film called Jaane Tu, Ye Jaane Na, in 2008, which also
nice.
announced the arrival of this young, charming hero. I think both of them would make a good pair. I think both of them has great music. Jaane Tu's music still holds up, absolutely. So that would be my choice. Finally, Imran, This is a difficult part because, like you said, you've grown up around the making of this film. But if you had to rate Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak now on a has it aged well scale of 1 to 10, 1 being it hasn't aged well at all, 10 being you find something new every time you watch it, what's a score that you would give? QSQT.
For me, it is a very high score. It is 8.5, 9. I think it's
And you're being objective as
objective as I can be.
Right.
But I do consider it to be a film that will last and sustain and remain as an iconic Hindi film.
Do you think it doesn't get talked about as often as, let's say, a Dil Chahta Hai or a Satya, like these cornerstones of films that changed?
Perhaps, I think this is a factor of my family is very, very low-key. I think that a lot of my grandfather's films are iconic films of that have literally shaped and defined what we today call Hindi cinema, Bollywood.
Yeah, exactly.
But a lot of the films and his name are not as well known as a lot of his contemporaries. But if you go back and you start watching one of his films and a song comes on, you're like,
इस
film का गाना है, ये भी इस film का गाना है. So some of the most memorable, iconic Hindi film songs and Hindi film moments, all of these things are from these films. But already by the 90s and early 2000s, I would get the sense that, there's a lot of other filmmakers who are his contemporaries, who are far more celebrated and far more remembered. We're low-key people. We don't put the thing out there a lot.
I genuinely, if someone watching this, please do like a Nasir Hussain film festival. I would like pay good money to watch those films again. All of those films still hold up. I grew up watching Hum Kisi Se Kam Nahi because again we had a VHS tape. And again and again would keep watching it. So
that whole music
the whole montage, that's epic. So great. Urjita, for you, on a scale of 1 to 10?
Has it aged well?
Yes.
Right? I think it has aged well, yeah. I think it's 8.7. That's
very
a very
specific.
Oh, we can go that fine.
No, not really. I don't know why this episode she's like, I felt Dashamlav Saath.
I was fighting between 8.5 and 9 and I was like 8.7. Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yes.
9, 8.7. Okay, for me.
I couldn't choose, so yeah.
Imran, I know you had a great role in the film and QSQT. Like I said, I inherited that film, but I would give it a 6 out of 10 because I am comparing it directly to Jojita, which I think is more closer to my heart and I think a more joyful film.
It is.
Yeah, QSQT, I think for its time, for what it stood for was great, but I think certain things from like watching it 36 years later, I'm like, But I still, the romance still works, the performances still work, the music is fabulous. So yeah, for me it's a 6 on 10. But I would love to revisit it every few years. I think it's a great film. So yeah. So yeah, 9, 8.7, 6. We do a segment called Alternate Ending. Let's do that very quickly right now.
Yes.
There was an alternate ending.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
This is one where an alternate ending exists.
Yeah.
All right.
Existed.
I have one, yeah.
I have an idea.
Huh?
Great.
So this is the alternate ending segment where we give an ending to a film than the way it originally ended, or we pitch a sequel to the film. In Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak, it will be a little difficult to pitch a sequel considering what happens at the end. But Imran, let's say Mansoor Khan gives you a call and he's like, that vault of ours, the temperature controlled vault, there's I want to make an addition to it. I'm releasing a remastered 4K digitally remastered version of QSQT and I want you to script a new ending to the film. What ending? Then the original happy ending that we shot, that still stays there. But if you have to give an alternate ending to QSQT, alternate ending, what would it be? Or if you would like to pitch a sequel somehow, what would it be? Or a prequel starring you. The Adventures of Young Raj.
The Adventures of Young Raj.
Yes.
That is the thing to do when he's a...
See, AI is recreating everything. So the child version of you, played by you in motion capture, is very much possible.
Yeah, we can actually... They do that, you can feed all the footage in and...
Yes.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But and yet you had an alternate
I
ending?
do.
You have? Yeah, I can't think.
So
Go first.
this was a thought that I had, that if you think about it, technically the families did not kill them. technically.
Families didn't
even
kill.
though,
They outsourced the killing.
Goga Kapoor wanted to kill Aamir Khan, but that's about it. Like Aamir's father, Dalip, he did not want to kill Juhi.
That's about it, yeah.
ऐसा कुछ नहीं था. And I'm coming to
Yeah,
my point, okay? So if you think about it, what if Goga Kapoor changes his mind and he's like कि Aamir को मत मारो, okay? That's the thing कि Aamir को मत मारो, and फिर तो जूही भी नहीं मरेगी, है ना? If you think about it. So now it's like now we have, instead of like a confusion where Juhi gets killed and as a result Aamir has to kill himself, instead of that we have like these families having a civil discussion about, you know,
Aww.
what's the next course of action to take. Like I want to know, like it's rather than an alternate ending, I want to know what happens if the accidental killing doesn't happen.
If the world was a nicer place and people heard each other out instead of killing them, what would happen?
So like वो घर जाके वो उधर के उधर क्या decide करते कि इन दोनों का शादी हो गया तो उनको रहने देते, or like what happens. It's more of a what if, because unlike Ram Leela, like I'm comparing this with another Shakespeare adaptation of Romeo Juliet, Ram Leela of Sanjay Leela Bhansali, जिसमें that also happens. Like udhar, in that case what is happening is the families, they decide ki okay fine, we will let them live, but these guys, they don't know that Ranveer Singh and Deepika, they think ki ye marne aa rahe, so they are like, instead of getting killed by our own families, let's just kill each other. So that also happened because of a confusion, but over here we knew for a fact that the families were okay with them, you know, getting together, like for sure. Yahan pe we are not sure what was going to happen.
Yeah.
So I think I would really like to know, you know, क्या डिस्कशन होता, क्या अल्टीमेट मीटिंग में क्या डिसाइड होता कि इनको जीने देना, इनको ये रेगिस्तान में रहने देना है मंदिर के नीचे. What exactly is the conclusion?
Okay, can I give my alternate ending?
Yeah.
Okay, so this will require just as a like a setup. My alternate ending will require Nasir Hussain Films and YRF making a deal. Okay, here's why. Because you see, so in the end, when the assassins come to kill Raj, we see that Raj actually has skills, right? He actually takes out the two people of the three that he had to kill. Okay. Where does he get? How did he get that skill? Okay, this is a young college boy. Okay, he grew up in a conservative family, very nice boy. Suddenly he knows how to kill two people. Suspicious. Okay, so that scene plays out. Okay, and now the ending, of course, doesn't happen where they kill themselves. We cut to black there. Okay, now there's a title card saying 30 years later. Okay, 30 years later, we see that Raj. We see going to a montage, a flashback montage. Raj is actually a raw agent, and he was actually a silent assassin who was planted in Mount Abu to suss out to hotbed of terrorist activities. Right? Terrorist activities, and he was there. Now we see, oh my God, this guy was an agent, and he lets Rashmi in on everything. Actually, Rashmi is disappeared. She's set up for a sequel.
Rashmi ke baare mein soch
Where did
Rashmi
go? But now we see that this guy was a raw agent, and somewhere in the 30 years he turned, and now he's working for the enemy.
Okay.
And now we see him making a plan. He's like, अब हमने ये कर लिया है. मेरा नामो निशान मिट चुका है, लोग समझते हैं 30 साल से मैं मर चुका हूँ, मेरा कोई नामो निशान नहीं है. No, wait. Okay, and then the music starts swelling up. Okay, we pan out. Then it says YRF Spyverse, and we set up Raj as the main villain of the YRF Spyverse. So it's going to be Pathan versus Tiger going against Raj.
पर भाई लव स्टोरी का क्या हुआ? वो कयामत
होगी,
से
कितना प्यार करोगे?
वो जो ब्रिज कयामत से कयामत तक जो 2 points है, what about those points?
Those points don't matter in my screenplay. So that was my alternate ending.
ऐसे तो मैं alternate ending इस बाद में बर्फ गिर के दोनों एल्सा बनते हैं.
I have given an alternate ending and a potential sequel. And
then you should actually tie it in with the other film, the Ajay Devgan film, Qayamat.
Oh, nice.
Because then the titles also is Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak.
Qayamat Se
Qayamat Tak.
Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak Qayamat.
हाँ, 3 Qayamats.
Yeah.
Do you want to give an alternate ending? You want to do it?
ये title है या Google Maps पे add a stop? What is this?
Okay, I think we've gone more than 2 hours. I think we should wrap this up. Imran, thank you so much for joining us. Genuinely, from the bottom of our heart.
Thank you for having me.
कर सकते, but studio दूसरे लोगों को भी चाहिए होता है तो. Anything are we seeing you again? What's happening in your life? Anything you want to plug? Where can people find you? Please go ahead.
Well, nothing to plug yet. I am still at the stage where I am reading scripts. I'm kind of having these creative discussions with people, looking for something exciting to work on. But I don't have it locked down yet.
Okay.
Whatever reports you may have heard are greatly exaggerated.
I heard you were approached by YRF for the Spyverse. It's not true.
That's you, Abbas. But what about the project with Veerdas, Happy Patel?
So that's what Veer is actually starring in Happy Patel. He is playing Happy Patel. He has written the script.
Achha, okay.
He is co-directing with his friend Kavi, and he is starring in and as Happy Patel. They have used a photograph of me as within the film as a gag.
Okay.
So that is a little a side gag.
Is it a secret Delhi Belly sequel we don't know about?
Sadly not. But because Veer and I are friends, Delhi Belly and all of this, in the film, within the universe of the film, we've kind of done a little wink gag.
Nice.
Oh.
So that's,
nice.
It's that kind of a thing. I'm not actually, I don't have a role in the film.
Involved, yeah.
So he is starring in the film. It's his film.
Veer, enough Emmys you've won. Come back, make a movie with Imran, and please do Delhi Belly too.
Yeah.
I think, all of... I mean, Kunal has gone on and become a podcaster now, so we should all do a crossover and then film that and release it in the theaters. But are you active on social media? I don't think so, right?
Barely. I have an Instagram account and I post very, 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 very infrequently.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you've been on other podcasts, and I think you make a great podcast guest.
Thank you.
Please search for Imran on podcasts. I think he's been appearing on many, and
I've been showing up now. Yeah.
You've been showing up, which is really great. Urjita, what have you been doing? Anything you want to plug? Please go
Before
ahead.
that, I just want to say,
Yeah.
you've been a great podcast guest, and which is why we both felt like Juhi Chawla. कह रहे पता नहीं ऐसा क्यों लग रहा है कि आपसे बात ही करते रहे. But no, I am a stand-up comedian and a writer.
Oh, why are you introducing?
I don't know why. What you asked me to plug
said,
myself.
yeah, you
Sorry.
wanna plug.
I just. But no, you guys can subscribe to my YouTube channel @Urjitavani and come for my live shows. I am doing my solos in Mumbai, 2 solos in Mumbai, and after that I'll be coming to Delhi. I think Delhi, Jaipur. So please come for my shows, watch my YouTube videos.
Nice. The links for her tickets will be in the description, so you can check that out. And you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Abbas Momin, and on Instagram as Abbas Momin88. Once again, thank you so much, Imran. Any other film that you would love to talk about? Our doors are always open. Please, please come back again.
Yeah.
And I would love to hear more stories like the Teesri Manzil story that you told us. It was really fun. And that was our episode. We'll be back next week with a new movie and a new guest. One last time, please subscribe to the IVM Pop channel. Check out all the other episodes we've done. And we'll see you next week with a new guest and a new movie. Till then, bye-bye.